variety. Turn it up.
Because you never know what's next.
I want more variety.
The new number one for variety.
I love it.
Is the new 1019 The Keg.
And let's be heard. The final gun has sounded. Now it's your turn to hear and be heard. The Huskers are headed to the locker room, and we're ready to give you all the post-game info and opinion. It's Big Red Overreaction, the first live post-game show featuring the most important voice of all, you the Husker fan. Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill, and by Equitable Bank. Also by Burton. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Get on the line now at 402-951-1620 and sound off on Big Red Overreaction, live on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Welcome into an edition of Big Red Overreaction here exclusively on 1019 The Keg, as well as on 1620 The Zone TV on YouTube. Alongside Ravi Lulla, I am Josh Peterson. Nebraska officially falls 28-23 versus Purdue. They fall to 3-6 on the season.
Got a sink that won't drain? For a limited time, we'll open your drain for only $93 or it's free.
Just want to turn it down.
I'm Mark Evans, owner of Burton AC Heat.
And they will undoubtedly not be going to a bowl game after whatever happens next week versus Ohio State. This edition of Big Red Overreaction brought to you by Rotella's Italian Bakery. The key to any tailgate is brat dog and burger buns from Rotella's Italian Bakery. Look, Robbie, I don't think we need to really mince a whole lot of words on this one to begin it. Nebraska is going to have to fire Scott Frost after this season. They are not going to go to a bowl. Today, I think that this was like the game that sadly I had been kind of waiting for, wondering if it was going to happen. And sure enough, it does versus Purdue. And now they're 3-6 and yeah, 28-23 final score.
I mean, what did I say to you and John on Thursday? That this is what I expected, because this is what we get from this team, from Frost coach teams. And listen, there's no room to mince words anymore. And in my opinion, there hasn't been for a while, but let me put it to you this way, and callers, whoever, Twitter, let me put it to you this way.
And by the way, hey, real quick, 402-952-1019. That is the phone number. We're not on the zone tonight. 952-1019, 402-952-1019.
Let me put it to you this way, and answer honestly, okay? This is a no Schadenfreude zone, all right? If this was happening under anyone else, any other coach in the country, be honest of how you would feel, because at this point, it feels like the only reason the entire fan base is not on the page of we have to move on is because his name is Scott Frost and he won a national championship as a quarterback at Nebraska. If it were anybody else, this would not be a conversation.
No, it would not. It would not.
I'm not.
It would not.
I'm not taking crazy pills.
No,
here,
you're not.
Right?
You're not.
Like this is cut and dry.
Yeah.
The only thing that is making this muddy is his name, which is a very stupid reason to keep someone.
Yeah.
I think there's some fear involved. I think people are afraid of, who do we get? Well, guess what? This is as bad as it gets. It does not get worse, right? Like, I mean, you haven't been to a bowl game in going to be 5 years now.
Yeah.
And how much worse?
2016.
How much worse can it get? It really can't. So the only place to go from here is up. Yes. It could get a lot worse from the Scott Frost you thought you hired.
Yeah.
But that's not the Scott Frost that we got. We got somebody who is by far worse than Mike Riley.
Worse than Bo, worse than Callahan.
He's
worse than Frank.
I mean, where are we going back?
Theo.
Jennings? Is that?
That's the neighborhood now that we are discussing.
So basically, he's the worst Husker coach in modern history.
Yeah.
And there's no argument there can't be an argument there anymore. The only argument is, we really liked him as a quarterback. And that's not a valid argument. Yeah. There's no reason. There's just no reason.
That was a hell of a football game in all of the worst ways imaginable. Nebraska is up 17-14 at the half, and there is certainly a lot that we will get into over the course of the next couple of hours. Scott Frost press conference coming momentarily. Once again, 402-952-1019. That is the phone number tonight as we are exclusively on 1019 The Keg. But, Robbie, I wrote it down in my notes going into the half. Nebraska seems like they're absolutely dominating, and yet they're only up by 3. And
I tweeted the same thing out. I said, this is a game, again, stop me if you've heard this before.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game where Nebraska feels like they've been in control the entire contest, and they're losing as we go into deep waters.
Yeah. And so they have that lead. They miss the pass. You know, some people have said Adrian overthrew Samori Toure. Some said that Samori Toure short-armed it. I personally thought that was a bit of an overthrow, but that was the chance. That was a moment right there to go up by 2 scores. Instead, Nebraska just has the 3-point lead. And in the second half,
but here's the problem with
real quick, they get the touchdown at the very end of the game to make it
a 1-score game.
Make it a 1-score loss. Otherwise, though, 0 points. They were outscored 14-0 until that final drive of the second half.
And how many drives ended in 3-and-outs or interceptions? I think it was 6.
In the second half?
In the second half, I think there were 6 drives.
They began with a 3-and-out, then they had an INT, then they had a 3-and-out. They had 4 plays and a punt, another 3-and-out, 1 play interception, 3 plays of interception, and then finally the touchdown.
So
it was a travesty of a second half.
6 drives ended in 3-and-out or an interception, and the 7th drive of the 8 was 4-and-out. They had 4 plays and a punt.
Exactly.
So just completely inept, and not to. Yeah, I'm gonna continue kicking a dead horse here. That's the side of the ball that your head coach is supposed to be a genius on.
I'm happy you said that because that was the thing. As I am driving here today,
this isn't a Cliff Kingsbury thing at Texas Tech. They scored 1,000,000 points and they couldn't stop anyone, but he could score points. That's what he was supposed to do, right?
Yep.
This isn't that.
That was the thing that I thought of as I drove here tonight. Was of all of the ways for this era, I think, to kind of end with the door slamming shut. And look, I know there are still 3 games left, and I know in all technicalities they can still make a bowl game. I get all these things, but we know how this thing is going to end. I thought that today was oddly a poetic representation of why this era needs to come to an end when their offense stalls. I'm listening to the Husker Sports Network on the drive over, and Matt Davison says something, or Greg says something about, hey, all they need is a quick score and they can get the ball back. And one of them made a joke like, yeah, I know that, us talking about a quick score like it's easy. And that is the point. His 4th-year quarterback, again, struggles, poor decision-making, a bevy of turnovers for tonight for Adrian Martinez, ends up with 4 interceptions, 14 of 29 overall on the day for Adrian, 269 yards, added 18 yards on the ground and a touchdown. So once again, maddening, right? 3 total touchdowns for Adrian, but the 4 turnovers as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's his career in a nutshell, right?
Yeah.
That's Adrian Martinez in a nutshell. And as Adrian Martinez has gone, so has the program, but it's not just Adrian Martinez. It's the entire offense. It's the befuddling play calling. I mean, well, the first drive of the game, we had plays to Omar Manning, Xavier Betts, Jacquez Yant, and Ramir Johnson. Boom, touchdown. How many touches did Betts have after that? I think 1.
I think so.
I think he had 1 touch after that. He had a play down the middle of the field. I think toward the end of the half.
Yeah.
He had 1 touch after that. I mean, I understand Manning was a little banged up and he got some other touches, but you had a thing that worked and you just don't go back to it. This has been a maddening thing. It's not just Adrian Martinez. Yes, he is kind of the microcosm of what happened today, right? But it's execution across the board. It's organization across the board. This is an unorganized, undisciplined, poorly coached football team. And I actually have kind of a hot take, I think.
Okay.
I think the only reason that they're so close in some of these games is because they are more talented than most of these teams.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're more talented
it shows
than Purdue.
At times. Yeah.
They're more talented than Minnesota. They were obviously more talented than Northwestern. They were more talented than Buffalo. They're more talented than Illinois, for sure. The only game in which they weren't more talented than the team they lost to was Oklahoma. And if it weren't for the fact that on a week in, week out basis, they are generally more talented than the rest of the teams in the West, this team would look a lot like what is happening to Illinois right now, or what's happening to Northwestern this season. And frankly, both of those teams may finish with better records than Nebraska. This isn't a talent
Probably
issue.
They're in last place in the division, and they're going to stay in last place. The only thing
because they've got Iowa, Ohio State, and Wisconsin left.
Yeah. The only team right now that has the same number of conference wins as Northwestern. So Nebraska, in all technicality, they hold the tiebreaker over Northwestern. But that is the neighborhood that they are living in right now. We are waiting for Scott Frost. Once again, 402-952-1019. Nick, Matt, a little behind the scenes real fast. Are we streaming? Do you want to make sure that we're on 1019thekeg.com? I've seen some people asking questions, and honestly, I can't tell if it's because they're trying to stream on 1620 The Zone or if they're trying to stream on here. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew. My guess is they're trying to stream on 1620 The Zone, but just check there. Let's go to the phones as we wait for Scott Frost. Bob is going to be up first here on 1019 The Keg at 402-952-1019. Bob, what's going on? Bob? Bob. Hey, Bob. Sorry, could you start over?
Hey, guys. Here it is in a nutshell. The last 3 weeks, all people have talked about is progress, progress, progress. What I seen today at Michigan State was progress. What I seen today at Nebraska is regress. I seen certain kids in that second half literally check out for the season. Literally. Watch the tape. It is a joke. If this was anybody else but the last name Frost, he'd have been canned 2 or 3 games ago. You've got to do something. You've got the 65th ranked recruiting class coming in here. If it's that good, you got to do something. You got to do something now. He can't even keep the kids in state. It's a joke, boys. Thanks.
All right. Thank you for the call there, Bob, at 402-952-1019. Matt, I am hearing that the stream is not working. If you could get that going on. It sounds like a lot of songs are playing right now. But we are, I guess, if I want to tell you to stream us on 1620 The Zone TV and you're trying to stream on the Keg, that's really not going to help. But we are hanging out here. And we'll be on 1620 The Zone TV all night long as we wait for Scott Frost to speak. Nebraska falls 28-23, and they move to 3-6 on the season. Back to the phones that we go before we get to Scott Frost. Bob is now up next on 1019 The Keg. Bob, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, my name's Jim, not Bob.
Oh, sorry about that, Jim.
Hey, that's okay. Look on the bright side, guys. This is the last game we're going to have to see Adrian Martinez screw up. That pass that he missed on Torres at halftime is inexcusable for a fourth-year quarterback. You throw the kid a pop fly and let him run underneath it. He tried to throw a bullet, and because of it, we missed a golden opportunity for a touchdown. And what's that kind of nonsense, throwing a pass almost underhanded into heavy traffic? I mean, I've never seen anything like that in my entire life. He needs to be benched. I don't care who they put in, but he's done at Nebraska, and Frost needs to go with him. That's all I've got, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Hey, thanks for the call there, Jim, at 402-952-1019. As one of the commenters says on YouTube, Ravi, he's not getting benched. Adrian, that was Colby. Adrian won't get benched. Did you think that today, where were you at on that? Because I saw a lot of people saying, hey, it's time for them to bench him. It's time for them to bench him. I in a way, who? Yeah, I know. I've never really entertained it. And maybe there is a part of me that can't get past the mental block that I have personally with Logan Smothers. But I just don't think that they're going to do it. And so in a way, I've never really entertained it, but maybe that's on me. Maybe that's something that's a me problem.
I mean, I'll entertain it in the sense of, hey, this is a lost season. Maybe we should get the freshmen some seasoning. But that's the only way. I don't know that Logan Smothers is, at this point in his career, a valid alternative as a starting quarterback for a team that had bowl aspirations. But we just saw those aspirations go up in smoke with every Adrian Martinez interception. So at this point, it doesn't really matter, if we're being honest here. But I don't think it'll happen for a couple of reasons. Because if Nebraska, as convinced and convicted as I am that Scott Frost has to go, I don't think it's a given, unfortunately. I think if they do manage to win 1 or 2 more games, there's a chance he could keep his job, which is horrifying to me. But I don't think it's out of the question. Do you?
I do now.
I think
tonight. I don't now. Look, once again, mental blocks, mental hangups. I don't think that they are going to win 1 or 2 more games. I mean, I guess I could see them winning 1 more. I don't see them winning 2 more. I see them. Look, I guess at best at 5-7. I don't think that you can bring him back now. And I thought that for a while, but I truly believe that after what happened today, you can't do it. You can't. They cannot do it.
100% agree. I'm just a little nervous about the rhetoric we've heard from Trev Alberts. Yeah. Now, maybe he's just trying to make sure or try and keep things in check as long as possible. But I think there's a world where they can go 4-8 or 5-7 and he keeps his job, which is, again, horrifying to me.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that, I don't think you're going to go to a developmental plan, quote unquote, with a Logan Smothers. You're going to continue to see Adrian Martinez.
Yeah.
Now, part of Adrian Martinez's struggles are Scott Frost's fault.
Yeah.
In the sense of, not even just in a development sense and that type of thing. I think they consistently do not put him in a good position to succeed, because whatever Scott Frost thinks, you want to talk about mental hangups and mental blocks. Scott Frost has something in his mind of who he thinks Adrian Martinez is.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not it. That ain't it, fam. And what Adrian Martinez actually is, if they called plays for that guy, I think it could work. I think there's enough talent in Adrian Martinez, the actual quarterback, versus Adrian Martinez, the unicorn flying over a rainbow that Scott Frost thinks he has. And there's a big difference in the way you would call plays for those two different quarterbacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they called plays for the quarterback they actually have, I think they'd be in a lot better shape. But they don't. They call plays for the quarterback that even Kelly Stauffer couldn't help but compare to Patrick Mahomes in the midst of a 4-interception game.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy that they've been calling plays for the last 4 years, not the guy they actually have. So a lot of Adrian Martinez's struggles are on Scott Frost directly, not just in the, he hasn't developed the way we wanted him to. In a game in, game out basis, a lot of his struggles are on Scott Frost and the play calling that they sent out there.
Josh says, let's not get distracted. This is not a Martinez issue. This is a Frost issue. Look, I
100% agree.
Yeah.
100%
This is not going to be Ravi and Josh defend Scott Frost by talking about other sorts of issues. But here's the thing.
All of the issues,
have 2 hours. We have maybe more than 2 hours. We have plenty
That's super optimistic, Josh.
I know. We have plenty of time to discuss all of the issues that are going on. So I don't want people to hear Ravi say something or me say something and say, yeah, but it's actually Scott Frost is the problem, period, end of story. But there can also be other problems too.
Let me say this. Let me say this out front, and I'll say it multiple times throughout our optimistically 2 hours on the air here.
Positive boys.
Every problem that I point out with Nebraska football, the root problem is Scott Frost.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that to my core. We are, I think, have been very forward out. I know Josh has, in particular, in the Scott Frost needs to go camp. This is not a making excuses for Scott Frost show. If anything, it's a Frost should be fired. That's our given. Now let's talk about some of the more particular issues.
Matt Scott is available right now on the @Huskers Twitter. Let's go there right now as we go to Scott Frost live from Lincoln after Nebraska falls to Purdue 28-23. Do we have Scott there, Matt? Is it loading? It's loading. All right, Scott. We're waiting for Scott Frost, and then we'll get to your calls at 402-952-1019. So stay there. Stay on hold right now. And we have fewer lines than normal. I believe we have one less line than we normally do. Is Scott Frost available, Matt? What's going on?
Guys, I'm going to be serious right now. This computer is worse than Windows 98.
The computer, you're not even on the air right now, Matt. Something's going on with the computer. Here, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Spencer real fast, and then we'll see if we can get Scott Frost going on. Spencer, what's going on? You're on Big Red Overreaction.
Taking the phone call.
Yep.
We love hanging out and watching games with our friends, and we all sit there and we're listening to Kelly Stauffer, and we're listening and we're watching. The biggest indictment, and I agree with you guys 100%, Frost has got to go. But the biggest indictment is who.
Hey, Spencer, we're going to put you back on hold. Sorry, Scott Frost is now speaking from Lincoln. Let's go to Scott Frost.
Why do you think you guys struggled to run the ball in the second half?
I don't know. We're going to look at the tape. We got 2 penalties when we couldn't. We came out on the first play, I think, and got 9 yards. Had a shot plan for the first time. We got in 2nd and 1 and didn't convert. And that drive was over. Got another one going with a drive on the first play of the next series, I believe. And then just I don't think we blocked very well. Five's a really good player. They got some good players. I think they're a good team too. They got the 4th ranked defense in the conference or whatever it is. But some of the blocks and things we were doing in the first half, we didn't get done in the second.
The fan base has been pretty resilient, but how would you describe kind of the vibe in that stadium in the second half?
I'm grateful to the fans. I'm grateful for an opportunity to coach my alma mater. I'm impatient to have these games turn out a different way. I'm grateful to the fan base. I was just as frustrated as them in the second half.
When you're down there, do you notice, how many people have cleared out midway through the fourth quarter?
Not really. I'm too dialed in trying to get the guys play a little better.
I know you're just off this one. You said you have a good enough team to win, and you haven't won them over the. I mean, can you put your finger on? It's taken a lot of different forms, but best guess on just why that hasn't.
We just got to play better. We could. We're a good team. We're not a great team, talent-wise. We gotta play better. A team shouldn't need me to motivate them all the time. That's my job. That's what I do. But a great team doesn't need a coach to motivate them all the time. We got them ready to play. I thought they came out ready to play in the first half. I don't think they weren't not ready to play in the second half. We just stubbed our toe again a few times and made too many mistakes and got beat by a Big Ten team.
We saw a lot of John Fuzzy for a touchdown drive, but you only had 2 carries the rest of the game. Why was that?
Oh, we didn't get very many plays in the second half, and protections right now and out of the backfield, Ramirez just ahead of wedge jockeys.
A couple more. Scott, what do you say to the guys? I mean, you got 3 left. Ohio State's coming to town. I mean, what's the sense in the locker room about the players?
Magic speeches aren't going to change this. So to be honest with you, today I left the locker room and had the captains address them. And some of these guys we got great captains. We got good character kids, and I know guys like Austin Allen and JoJo are going to want to finish it the right way. So, and we need a little more of that. So, the guys will keep working, but it's disappointing.
With how many games left, do you go looking for new answers, or you just try to reinforce what you've already told?
There's no new answers. We'll look for them. We're always looking for them, always looking for ways to get better. Again, we went fast there at the end, and it looked great on that last drive. We tried to do that the 2 drives before and turned it over. Sometimes when we do that, you take a sack and it kills the drive. We just got to be a little bit better. If we're a little bit better in protection, we can trust that stuff a little more. When we're going fast, it really neutralizes pass rush because guys get tired, and it helps out our O-line. But I don't want to do that to our defense either. So everything is we just got to be a little bit better.
Adrian's so capable of making big plays, but he's also prone to mistakes. Is there, on a day like today, do you tell him to play more conservatively, or do you tell him to keep taking chances? Or how do you walk that line with a quarterback who, can do a lot of things when he's right?
No, I don't want any of my players playing conservatively. He's good enough to make the throws he missed today. The one play that disappointed me was with him, and I let him hear about it, was he scrambled out of the pocket on a 3rd and 6 or whatever, and I was out of bounds 1 yard short of the chains. That's where you got to be a little bit of a nut cutter and lower your shoulder or dive or jump or do whatever you can to keep a drive going. He's a great player. Some of those plays our whole team needs to make.
Anything else? Do you open up the QB conversation more this week? I know you said at the end you weren't necessarily thinking about it today, but does that become more of a?
No, that's not a story. We're going to play the guy that we think gives us the best chance to win, period. Right now it's Adrian.
Last question. Do you feel like your team is playing with enough edge to consistently win Big Ten games?
I don't think edge is the problem. I think it's the just gritty competitor that's going to go get it done when it matters. And we had a chance to recover the onside kick, and I have to see the replay, but I thought we had it. There's the play, and there's 20 of them in every game. And there's the play, and we fail to make that play more often than we need to in order to win games.
Thank you.
All right, that is Scott Frost live from Lincoln as Nebraska falls 28-23 versus Purdue. This is Big Red Overreaction brought to you by Rotella's Italian Bakery. The key to any tailgate is a brat dog and burger buns from Rotella's Italian Bakery. Also brought to you by Burton. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Ravi Lulla is to my right. I am Josh Peterson. We know that we're having a lot of technical issues. We are sorry about that. Many people are comparing Big Red Overreaction tonight to Nebraska's performance. We do apologize. There is a lot of moving parts right now with Creighton being on 1620 The Zone as their season begins. I can tell you this. We are on 1620 The Zone TV on YouTube. We will be there all night long. We appreciate all of you who are joining us, watching along. Paul, Charlie, and Spencer. We will get to you first, Spencer, when we return as this thing continues. And maybe, I don't know if we're going to read, Robbie, any of the arguments in the YouTube comment section. My goodness. First of all, it's moving super fast. Second of all, everyone's yelling at each other. All right, he's Robbie Lulla.
It's a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I'm Josh Peterson. Matt Stein is our producer. It is Big Red Overreaction on 101.9 The Keg.
Thanks for checking out Big Red Overreaction on 101.9 The Keg. My name is Crash Davis. Join me every Monday through Friday from 6 until 10. And just because you're listening, listen Monday morning at 7:15 for your cue to call. And when you hear me tell you to call, be the first person to get through with the word Christmas, and I will hook you up with Trans-Siberian Orchestra tickets and a gift basket from Trans-Siberian Orchestra featuring tour merchandise. That's right, 7:15, keyword Christmas, Monday morning, right here on 101.9 The Keg.
Hello, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. We are now open and ready to serve you at our second location at 202nd and Pacific. You may ask, why are we growing so fast? It's simple. With Equitable Bank, you get the best of both worlds. A great digital banking platform backed by our customer service. Once you bank with us, you'll never want to leave. When you're ready for a superior banking experience, give us a call at 402-827-8100. We'll answer on the first ring. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain Cold Refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Taste the tradition. And do you know who's traditionally good when it comes to taste? Rotella's Bakery. Right as the fall's getting started, football is ramped up. You're thinking food and tailgating. You know what would go great with those brats, those burgers, those cheeseburgers? A nice Rotella bun. The quality, the ingredients, tremendous. When you've done business for over 100 years, you know that you're good at what you do. That's Rotella's Bakery. And remember, you're going to get a little Rotella's every week as they sponsor our Keys to the Game and Big Red Overreaction.
Got a sink that won't drain? For a limited time, we'll open your drain for only $93 or it's free. Hi, I'm Mark Evans, owner of Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more. Sometimes a plunger just isn't enough. Burton's team of experts is on call 24/7 for emergency repairs. We offer upfront pricing, and your 100% satisfaction is guaranteed. Call for details on our 93 or free special or request service at justcallburton.com.
Coming up on Big Red Overreaction, we look back at the keys to the game, brought to you by Rotella's Italian Bakery. The key to any tailgate is brat, dog, and burger buns from Rotella's Italian Bakery. It's Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg. More info and opinions on Big Red than one station can handle. Now on 2 stations. Big Red Overreaction postgame on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg. Sound off 402-951-1620. Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
Well, This is the music we get on 1019 The Keg, Robbie. Welcome back. Big Red Overreaction here on 1019 The Keg, brought to you by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill, and also brought to you by our friend Doug and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. He's Ravi Lulla. I am Josh Peterson. We are exclusively on 1019 The Keg on the radio, and we're also on 1620 The Zone TV. Nebraska falls to Purdue 28-23. They moved to 3-6 on the season. Sounds like all of the issues of the stream, of the app, and of the actual station are good to go. So we will now be on the Keg and on Zone TV for the rest of the show. Spencer, we're going to get to your call in just a moment. There were a couple of things, though, Robbie, that I did want to read coming off of the Scott Frost press conference. He mentioned that there are magic speeches aren't going to turn things around. He left it to the team captains to address the group after today's loss, to which our friend Mike responds, watching the YouTube feed, but did either of you catch the plate number of the vehicle Frost just rode over his team for saying it's their job to motivate themselves? Mike, I did miss the plate number, but if any of our friends have it, let us know at BR Overreaction.
Well, and listen, there's a certain extent that he's right in that as a college athlete, you do have to be self-motivated.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that motivation is the problem here. I think that's a kind of false flag to run up because he thinks it'll get people on his side and be like, oh, the guys just need to play harder. Yeah. No, this is a poorly coached football team when your offensive genius head coach can't score against freaking Purdue.
Zero points until that final drive in the second half. 0 points. And it was, 4 or 5 3-and-outs, a 4-and-out, and a couple of interceptions.
It was 3 3-and-outs, 3 interceptions, and a 4-and-out.
Gross. That was disgusting.
Those were all of the drives before the touchdown.
That was a disgusting display in the second half. Absolutely disgusting. And Brad says someone needs to take a look at these one-score games because I don't know how many times we've gotten a cheap touchdown to make it a one-score game, but it's deceiving. We're not that close.
We're up to at least 3 now.
It's incredible. It happened 2 weeks ago.
Minnesota,
it happened against Illinois, and then it happened
Purdue.
today. Yeah,
we're at least
stuff,
3.
man.
And in the other games, I mean, they were down multiple scores in, I think, every game that they've lost. I don't think it's ever been one of those. And listen, I get that happens. Michigan State was down multiple scores to Michigan today, ends up winning the game. But Mel Tucker's a good football coach, so that's the difference, right? I mean, we are at a point here where this no longer makes any sense whatsoever in terms of having any kind of faith that this is getting turned around.
Mm-hmm.
We see the same problems every week. We see new problems every week. They can't get anything together in year freaking 4, man. Wake Forest, when they hired a new coach in 2014, guess how long it took them to make a bowl game? Wake Forest, one of the...
I'll guess 3 years.
Third year.
Yeah.
Guess where they are now in year 7?
Undefeated.
Undefeated, top 15 in the country. Wake Forest.
Yeah. Hey, look at Michigan State. I mean, you just mentioned the Michigan
State.
Game. Look at Michigan State.
Undefeated, top 10. Baylor, year 2 with Dave Aranda, turned it around. Ole Miss, year 2 with Lane Kiffin, turned it around. A lot of these places were in much worse shape than Nebraska when Scott Frost took over. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly Wake Forest was, because it's Wake Forest. And it took them less time to turn it around than Scott Frost. At a certain point, you have to admit to yourself, this isn't working.
Jed says Purdue is averaging 15 points per game in their last 5 games coming into Lincoln. That and Jed, I'll add this too. They were averaging under 80 yards per game on the ground. They had 120 today.
Yeah, I believe they had 80 in the first half.
Including 74 from King Drew. All right, let's go back to the phones. Spencer has been waiting on hold for a while. Spencer, we do apologize that we put you on the air and then we took you back off the air, but you are now on Bigger and Overreaction on 1019 The Keg.
Well, all right. I appreciate you guys having me back on after that awe-inspiring press conference that Frost had.
Yeah.
But, I think part of it is if we as fans are frustrated to where we get sick and tired of hearing the same message, and we know what athletes are like, doesn't matter if it's a 5-year-old up to a college student, if we don't hear the message that's going to inspire us to move forward, we're not going to do anything. And the biggest indictment, we're kind of what I was saying earlier, the biggest indictment with this program, Frost has got to go, but the question we got to ask is, if he goes, then who replaces him? But if you don't have, as he calls it, that nut cutter who's going to lower his shoulder and run somebody over, then damn it, put somebody in who's going to. If it's Harburg, if it's Smothers, I know they're not the answer, but put somebody in who wants to try and give effort, who thinks that they can do a little bit better. If Martinez is not the answer, when you're jaded and you're blinded by somebody that you recruited, that you made trips for across the country to go and bring into your program, it's time to just sit there and go, Adrian, thank you for everything you've done. We've got to move on because you cannot be the quarterback next year because I might not be the coach next year. It's time to move on. Guys, I appreciate the time and go Big Red.
Hey, thanks for the call, Spencer, at 402-952-1019. Solely on YouTube says, and all that after a bye. Yeah, Nebraska remains winless before or after a bye.
How is that even possible?
Under Scott Frost. Yeah, and look, I want to go back to something that Spencer said at the beginning of that phone call. And once again, you can call us at 402-952-1019. And the idea of putting in somebody different and it not always being on the coaches. And look, I'm certainly here to have conversations. There is always shades of gray. It's not always, just Frost's problem or just Adrian's problem. The answer always lies in the middle. But one of the refrains that we have heard as of late is they just need more talent. They just need more of this. It's his job to do those things. It's his job to call plays that puts guys in good positions. It's his job to have a good backup. The problem with the quarterback situation right now, if you don't think that Adrian is the guy, and I understand why you wouldn't, is that they haven't provided good enough depth behind him to go to at this point in time. And so that's the issue. That is what is happening right now with this football program. And it is so frustrating. It is so frustrating to see.
Yeah, I mean, literally everything you can mention, it is Scott Frost's job, right? It's Scott Frost's job to have a viable backup quarterback so that you can bench Adrian Martinez. And maybe they do, maybe they don't. But guessing on how they've developed quarterbacks, I would guess that they don't. It's his job, apparently, to call plays and to put in the right play calls and to install a correct offense that plays to the strengths of the players that you have. It's his job to make sure they're organized. And so Adrian Martinez knows, hey, in this situation, I need to protect my body. In this situation, I need to go for the first down. All of these things are coached.
Yeah.
And even the players that you have, this isn't the NFL where you just kind of deal with whatever the GM hands you. You are the GM. You go out and get your players. And these are the players that you've got. And frankly, I think the players are okay. I think the players are good enough.
Players are good enough.
Competitive in the West.
Here's Robbie, the players are good enough to be better than 3 and 6.
Yeah. You know why? Because this division isn't that good. Purdue is beatable. Minnesota is beatable.
They had leads.
Illinois is beatable. The teams that they shouldn't have been in the game with, Michigan and Michigan State and Oklahoma, they were in the game because the players are good enough.
Yeah.
The coaching staff is not.
Deranged Muppet says, somebody needs firing. I'm leaning the quarterback coach and the O-line coach. Deranged Muppet, if that's where you're starting and ending in that conversation, I'm sorry. I would go a little bit further than that. Back to the phones we go. 402-952-1019. Let us go to line 1. That is where Mike has been waiting on hold. Mike, what's going on? You're on Big Red Overreaction on 1019 The Keg and 1620 The Zone TV.
Good evening, guys. Josh, I would, real quick, I would take up one exception when you're talking about maybe the quarterbacks behind Martinez hasn't been brought along quite yet, are good enough to either start a game or go in when Adrian's ineffective.
Yeah.
My problem with that statement is everywhere else along this team, whether it was on the offensive line, wide receiver group, in the defensive, anywhere on the players are held accountable. If they make mistakes, or like Bryce Benhart's getting his lunch eaten at the beginning of the year, Ethan Piper's getting his lunch eaten at the beginning of the year, they pull those guys and they have replaced those guys. Benhart's only playing now because Prohaska got hurt. Had Prohaska not got hurt, he'd still be sitting on the bench. Seemingly they have everybody else, or every other position on the field has to be held accountable for a certain play. But seemingly with Adrian Martinez, there is no accountability at all. I have sons, friends, we all have this conversation about, is Frost going to get fired? Is Frost? I had no answer. Today, after watching that game, absolutely needs to go. And the reason that he needs to go, to Robbie's point, you're the GM. You're the quarterback guru. You're the guy that has to get those quarterbacks prepared and ready to play. And if you don't have somebody behind Adrian, especially when he's injury prone, it's your fault. There should be guys behind him that can play whether he gets hurt or plays horribly like he did today. That's all on Scott Frost.
No, and hey, Paul, thank you for the call. Or Mike, excuse me, thank you for the call at 402-952-1019. You can give us a call right now. There's a line open for you. That's a fair statement. That's a fair statement.
Sure, yeah.
Because, and so I will kind of meet him halfway and meet anybody halfway that says, can't we just see what Nebraska has
100%.
behind Adrian Martinez?
I'm okay with that. I don't have an issue with that. But it's so much. Again, it's so much deeper than Adrian Martinez. He brought up the accountability thing. It's not just Adrian Martinez. He's right. Some players get held accountable. I'm looking at Omar Manning, Jacquez Yant, Xavier Betts. Some players don't. I'm looking at Cam Jurgens. It took Ben Hart 4 or 5 games to be held accountable. It's taken Adrian Martinez 4 years. He's barely been held accountable. Cam Taylor-Britt was awful at the start of the season. He didn't get held accountable. It's hit and miss who gets held accountable. And that's why people don't buy in. You want to wonder and look around why guys aren't motivated, because they have no idea if what you're telling them is the truth or not. You say, hey, we need guys that are going to be tough, and when it's nut cutting time, we got to, put your shoulder down and get the first down there and whatever. Okay. The guys clearly don't trust what you're telling them because you're so inconsistent with the way it's practically applied. Cam Jurgens has had snap issues pretty consistently for 2 years, wasn't held accountable. Ben Hart was getting beat routinely through the first 4 or 5 games, wasn't held accountable. Cam Taylor-Britt was getting abused the first 3 games, doesn't get held accountable. But then Xavier Betts runs a route badly one time, out. Omar Manning does something wrong one time, out. Jacquez Yant turns the wrong direction one time, out. Sure, what's the difference there? Tell me why there's such a disparity in the way these things are applied to different players, because there seems to be no rhyme or reason. And I'm going to be honest, Coach Frost, it's going to be real hard to get your guys to buy in when they have no idea whether the rules apply to them or the guy sitting next to them.
Yeah, Chuck asks on YouTube, when does Frost lose the locker room? Man, I mean,
I think it's lost.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, some of the things coming out of the press conference tonight, and we didn't get a chance to listen to the whole thing. I'm looking forward to watching it after the show tonight. It seems like a program that is out of answers. As much as I was rolling my eyes at some of the comments earlier this season, I could meet him. I keep saying meeting people halfway. I could meet Frost halfway after the Oklahoma game, because that, in my opinion, that was like the first sign of real progress.
Yeah, it was a good performance. Oklahoma's better than they
just haven't had a chance to match, if not exceed it, at any other point throughout this season. Bigger Overreaction brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Also brought to you by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. Hope that you are enjoying some Coors Lights as you listen to Bigger Overreaction here on 101.9 The Keg and 1620 The Zone TV. Back to the phones we go at 402-952-1019. Charlie is up next on line 2. Charlie, good evening.
Hello.
Hey, Charlie.
I'd just like to say, I think Scott Frost is the guy right now.
Well, yeah.
100%. I'm just playing with you. No.
I thought Charlie, I thought you meant like literally.
Just literally, he is currently still the head coach.
3 games left. So I was like, okay, yeah, I guess that's fair.
No. He said in the press conference his job is to motivate players. Well, clearly that is his job. I mean, he's supposed to motivate the players, and he says that he shouldn't be doing it. Secondly, he says that they need to get dialed in. They had 2 weeks to dial in. How were they not dialed in? Did Adrian spend those 2 weeks throwing to the defense, basically? And then lastly, the run game. I mean, I don't know why they didn't go to it. Yant was 6 for 60, and he did not touch the ball.
Charlie? I think Charlie is gone. Charlie is gone at 402-952-1019. Nebraska falls 28-23 to Purdue. Let's go back to the phones one more time before we end up taking a break. Give us a call at 402-952-1019. Steve is up next. Steve, what's going on? You're on Big Red Overreaction.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yep.
I just got one thing to say about Frost is who would be next if they got rid of him.
Oh, I have
That's
a list.
the only scary thing. I think when you keep saying all year that it's come down to 1 or 2 plays, that one that he overshot Sumori or whatever, and then that interception were 2 plays that really could have put us in good shape. And I think if you start, what about putting in Smothers and at least getting him some experience for next year? Even it ain't gonna be no worse than what they got for having Martinez in there.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call, Steve, at 402-952-1019. Robbie, it seemed like he put that golf ball on a tee for you right there.
It hasn't been 1 or 2 plays.
Yeah.
It's been 1 or 2 scores.
Mm-hmm.
But which interception are you talking about? You're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, or the pick 6 that got dropped in the first half.
Yeah.
Which interception would you like back?
On a drive that they ended up scoring a touchdown.
Yeah,
by the way.
which of those would you like back? Do you want that play back? Because that's a 14-point swing.
Yeah.
Or so you want to point to the Toure play and be like, oh, should have had 7 there. It's like, yeah, maybe, but also Adrian Martinez isn't a quarterback that you can count on to consistently make that throw.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. It's like people who are bad at golf being like, oh, I should have made that putt. It's like, no, you shouldn't have. You're bad at golf.
It's a great point.
Like, you can't expect to make
if I would have made this and this and this and this.
It's like, yeah, but you never make those because you're bad at this.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of the same thing here. You can't count on Adrian Martinez to consistently be good because for 4 years, we've seen that that's not who he is as a quarterback.
All right. Many people are saying, show us your list. We want to see your list.
100%. I'll bring it up right now.
I got 3 coaches that I always bring up first when somebody asks
Go
me.
ahead.
All right,
I've got a list. It's right here.
And I know how the season began for Iowa State, but Matt Campbell, I think, is always a name that should be at the top of Nebraska's list.
There's a handful of guys that you have to make say no, and Matt Campbell is on that list.
Absolutely, he is. And look,
Luke Fickell, also a part of that list. Make him say no.
I will say this. Luke Fickell, I think that is actually a harder get for Nebraska than Matt Campbell would be. Matt Campbell is coaching at a school that in maybe a year, maybe in 2 years, maybe in 3 years, certainly in 4 years, will no longer be considered a power conference like it is today.
100%.
Things are going to change. Plus, you know that he can win in the Midwest. Those are the first 2. One of the ones that I've really started liking a whole lot more lately has been Dave Aranda.
He's on my list.
They got another win today, did Baylor. Thanks a lot, Texas, for that cover. I thought that they were going to cover. I thought that they were going to win. Texas was up 21-10. A great comeback by Baylor. Baylor ends up getting the victory. What are they, 7-1 now? I believe Baylor is.
Yeah.
So those are always the first 3 that I think of in terms of semi to very realistic, and that I think are really good coaches. Because the ones above them, like you're not going to kick the tires on Nick Saban or James Franklin said. So those are always the 3 guys that I kind of start and end with, and then I get to like the Chadwells of the world. And
so Jamie Chadwell's very high on my list. Coastal Carolina, I think he's an incredible coach.
Yep.
He's done a very good job at Coastal Carolina. I'd be very high on Jamie Chadwell, and that's a very gettable guy.
Yeah.
Right? Another name that I think you make say no, but I don't think you can get is Lane Kiffin.
I'd love that idea.
I don't think you can get Lane Kiffin, but I think you make him say no. He's got the tie to Lincoln with his dad. He was born here, I believe. And
he was. Lane Kiffin was born in Lincoln.
He was born in Lincoln. His dad coached here. He's got the tie, which apparently matters. And you can make the argument that it's easier for him to make a national championship coming out of Nebraska than it is coming out of the SEC West.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's a really, really hard get there. There's too many teams you have to navigate through.
Riley says Lane train all day, baby.
I love Lane Kiffin. I wanted Florida State to hire him when they hired Mike Norvell when he was at FAU. Lane Kiffin, you make him say no. Guys that I think would work that are a little outside the box. I think Tom Herman probably should get another shot.
Tom Herman currently with the Chicago Bears.
Yes. And not as bad at Texas as you remember.
So triggered.
They'd be really mad.
They would be so mad.
But he was better at Texas than Scott Frost has been anywhere except for 1 year at UCF.
They had 3 losses last year? I think they finished 7-3, and they were all 1-score games.
Yeah, and he was basically 8-9 wins his time there.
Yeah.
I think Gus Malzahn would be a really good hire. Currently at UCF, formerly at Auburn, has the pedigree of making the playoff, being really competitive in an unbelievably difficult division. And honestly, the personnel switch would be pretty easy because his schemes are pretty similar to what Frost does.
Real quick, Gem Mint City Collectibles, very specific, says Lance Leipold.
I don't know about Lance Leipold.
Because he just went to a Power 5 school and you don't think he'd leave, or you want to see more from him?
I'd like to have seen a little bit more from him. I thought he's done a good job so far. Kansas is an unbelievably hard job, but he's also a little on the older side. And I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be mad about it, but I don't know. Another guy that I like that's kind of off the radar, Jeff Monken at Army. Now, he runs a triple option now.
You
but
say that like it's a bad thing.
I understand that's a big... People would love that.
Yeah.
But he also,
don't drive off the road if you heard that. I know it's exciting you, but settle down.
But he has also said that if he was someplace other than a service academy, well, he would still have triple option elements. It would be a more modern offense. right? He really dove into the triple option because of he's at Army, right? But Jeff Monken is an incredibly bright offensive mind and worth looking at. And he took an Army team that was straight garbage, and they have been very good consistently under him. Hugh Freeze at Liberty.
No, please God, no. I stop this now. No.
Because of who he is or because of how he's coached?
Because of who he is.
That's fair.
No.
But
Sorry, I know. His resume is awesome, and he's a really good coach.
He's an incredible coach.
I'm sorry. I'm going to veto that. I'm vetoing. And look, and I'll say this: Trev ain't hiring him.
Oh, it would be an incredibly tough sell at Nebraska.
Trev ain't hiring him.
Bill Moose might have hired him.
Trev ain't touching that.
Which is fine. Yeah. I also, I think that. Oh, I got one more.
Trying to see if there's any other names on this list of.
So this guy.
People keep saying Mike Leach. They're not going to hire Mike Leach.
I love Mike Leach. That's not a good fit for Nebraska.
Some are saying Eric Bieniemy.
Eric Bieniemy was great if he wasn't probably going to be an NFL head coach in 15 minutes.
Brian says Campbell, Fickle, Aranda. Josh, you cut out on my end. Yeah, Dave Aranda was the third name that I mentioned.
mean, if you can convince Byron Leftwich, that would be great. Any of those really high-profile NFL offensive coordinators, I do think they're going to get somebody with major power conference experience as a head coach, or at least some experience as a head coach. I think somebody texted me earlier today, said Jim Leonard, the D coordinator at Wisconsin. I think that's a tough sell, a guy coming in with no head coaching experience, because we've seen even with Frost how a little head coaching experience is troubling when you're trying to figure things out on the fly. But I also really like, this is kind of an off the radar one because I don't think they're as good this year, but I've always really liked Bronco Mendenhall.
Yeah.
At Virginia. He was at BYU before.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't have the pedigree to get it done.
Yeah.
But I think you'd have a honest to God, legitimate professional program.
You didn't mention Clausen at Wake.
Clausen at Wake.
Okay. I mean, we talked about him earlier. I just wanted to.
He's done a very good job.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have an issue with that. He's shown the ability to build from really dire circumstances. I mean, there's no shortage of good candidates, and that's the point, right?
Yep. There's a lot of good names out there.
The fear of who do we get next? Well, listen, you, in a very rare instance, had the opportunity to get the hottest coaching candidate in the country with Scott Frost, and it did not work out, obviously. Mel Tucker was not a hot candidate when he went to Michigan State. He was kind of an afterthought at Colorado. They had been okay, but not great. They hired him at Michigan State. 2 years later, he's the king of the world, right? A lot of these hires that are considered home runs at the time end up being terrible hires. Chip Kelly, for instance, at UCLA, that's been a rough go of things. That was considered a great hire at the time. It doesn't have to be a home run hire in the moment. It has to be a home run hire 2 years later, 4 years later. Nebraska hit the home run in the press conference with Scott Frost. Guess what? They've gotten the golden sombrero 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts since then. It doesn't matter if it's the best candidate in the country or whatever. Same thing with Tom Herman. When Tom Herman went to Texas, he was the hottest candidate in the country. Now, I think Tom Herman should get another go, but there's plenty of options. You only have to get it right once. And the fear that, oh, well, if Frost isn't the guy, we're never going to find the guy. That's probably what Alabama thought when they were running through retread coaches for 15, 20 years. Your Mike Prices and Dennis Franchionis of the world. And then Nick Saban walks in their backyard and they're off to the races. I'm not saying Nebraska is going to be Alabama, but if they can get even a fraction of that and become a functional football program again, that's a win.
Couldn't agree more. 402-952-1019. There's some comments that I wanted to get to. There was one in particular from Matthew that we can get to when we return here on Big Red Overreaction. Also, Bruce, Scott, and Mike. Please stay right there at 402-952-1019. This edition of Big Red Overreaction brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Also brought to you by our friends at Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. 402-952-1019. We do appreciate you joining us tonight. Exclusively here on 1019 The Keg, as well as 1620 The Zone TV. More of your calls, more of your tweets, emails, and more when we return. He's Ravi Lulla. I'm Josh Peterson. Matt Stein producing. Back after this on 1019 The Keg.
Thanks for checking out Big Red Overreaction on 1019 The Keg. My name is Crash Davis. Join me every Monday through Friday from 6 until 10. And just because you're listening, listen Monday morning at 7:15 for your cue to call. And when you hear me tell you to call, be the first person to get through with the word Christmas, and I will hook you up with Trans-Siberian Orchestra tickets and a gift basket from Trans-Siberian Orchestra featuring tour merchandise. That's right, 7:15, keyword Christmas, Monday morning, right here on 101.9 The K.
You can't have a hot dog, a brat, or a hamburger, even a cheeseburger without the bun right. That's why the key to the game always, whether it's tailgating or just getting together with your friends for some football, is Rotella's Italian Bakery. It makes your brat, your hot dog, your hamburger, your cheeseburger great. They even have gluten-free buns as well. So no matter what you're eating for your tailgate or you just should get together for football, have the key to the game. Always quality ingredients from Rotella's Italian Bakery, celebrating 100 years, a true family tradition.
Got a sink that won't drain? For a limited time, we'll open your drain for only $93 or it's free. Hi, I'm Mark Evans, owner of Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more. Sometimes a plunger just isn't enough. Burton's team of experts is on call 24/7 for emergency repairs. We offer upfront pricing, and your 100% satisfaction is guaranteed. Call for details on our 93 or free special or request service at justcallburton.com.
Hello, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. We are now open and ready to serve you at our second location at 202nd and Pacific. You may ask, why are we growing so fast? It's simple. With Equitable Bank, you get the best of both worlds. A great digital banking platform backed by our customer service. Once you bank with us, you'll never want to leave. When you're ready for a superior banking experience, give us a call at 402-827-8100. We'll answer on the first ring. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
It's Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
More info and opinions on Big Red than one station can handle. Now on 2 stations. Big Red Overreaction postgame on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The K. Sound off. 402-951-1620. Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
Welcome back. Bigger Overreaction here on 1019 The Keg and 1620 The Zone TV, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Also brought to you by Rotella's Italian Bakery. The key to any tailgate is brat dog and burger buns from Rotella's Italian Bakery. He is Ravi Lulla. I'm Josh Peterson. This song's certainly an apt decision from our producer, Matt Stein. It feels like the end of the world. Coach Schroeder, depending on how it's pronounced, he tweets in, and look, I'm not going to do any dancing on graves tonight. I know you're not, Ravi, but I did want to read this. Kudos to you guys. You were the only media members before the season saying this really had a chance to go off the rails. Seems like late in the third, the rest of the media realized how bad this team actually is. I said something similar to somebody else. I thought that there was a noticeable shift in, and look, we're just reading tweets during the game, but I thought there was a noticeable shift in tone from a lot of those folks that are covering the team. And you know, you and I said it all off season. If they lose to Illinois, the season could go off the rails. 3-9 is on the table. And yet, over the course of the first month and a half, I kind of backed off that opinion because they were playing all those teams so close. And yet, if I had to pick what Nebraska finishes this year, I would pick 3-9. More than I would 4-8, more than I would 5-7, and obviously more than I would 6-6.
Yeah, I mean, this was the win that was left on the table.
Easiest one.
Wisconsin appears to be playing better, so that which appeared to be easier earlier in the season does not appear to be easy anymore, even though Iowa has struggled to score the football as of late. So had Purdue, and that didn't really matter today. So, and obviously Ohio State just goes without saying, right? Yeah. So I thought they were going to be better than this. I did. I thought
today, are you saying
in the offseason?
Yeah.
I thought 6-6, 7-5 was the most likely outcome. But I did see, not to toot my own horn, but I think we both saw, hey, there's a scenario in which this gets away from them badly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's looked a little different because they've kept everything close-ish, right? There hasn't been that big blowout, that just embarrassing, 56-20 loss. But losing to Illinois is embarrassing in and of itself. You don't need the margin, right?
Yeah.
Losing the way they did to Michigan State is embarrassing. You don't need the margin. Losing the way they did to Minnesota.
And that's the thing. The last two
keep
games,
going down the list, right?
Look, I know I pushed up against the progress mantra because they kept losing the games, but I was willing to at least listen to it to some degree because I picked them to win against Minnesota. I said that I thought that they could win against Minnesota, and then they didn't, and all of that goodwill went away. And that's the thing. The last two games, that's why you noticed a shift in tone.
Yeah.
That's why I'm reading all the tweets right now. I'm reading the emails. I'm seeing a lot of people that I know at one point said, no, you can't fire him, saying, hey, you have to do this. I understand the last two games specifically have marked a change. Have marked a change in the fan base, have marked a change in those who cover the team.
Because it's not close losses to top 10 teams.
It's not close
losses to Minnesota and Purdue.
And as we pointed out earlier, a little bit of a fallacy as well. They were 2-score games. They became 1-score games. Yet they still lost them. Let's go back to the phones. 402-952-1019. That is the phone number tonight. Bruce has been waiting on hold on line 1, and he is up next on Big Red Overreaction. Bruce, what's going on?
Hey, boys. How's it going?
Hey, man.
Hey, I've been listening to Husker football on the radio for so many years, and I just think that we are being entirely too critical of Mr. Scott Frost right now.
Okay.
These boys have been running the ball so hard. They've been playing so hard for Mr. Frost, and I just don't know how we can criticize like this. Josh, have you ever played college football before in your life?
Nope.
Where do you get off being so rude to Mr. Frost?
Well, that's a good question, Bruce. Have you played college football before?
No, but I have listened to so much football over the years. And I just don't understand. They have been playing so hard, and I just don't understand how we can be so critical when we have never played this game before. It is getting so ridiculous. These fans are coming down so hard on these players, and I just don't get it. We are not letting them grow. We're not letting them get better. This is getting out of hand.
All right. Thank you for the call, Bruce. Here on Big Red Overreaction.
That was pretty obviously a troll call, which is fine. But
be funnier.
Yeah, if you're gonna troll, be good at it.
Just a little funnier.
Just like a little bit. Just be a little better at it.
Tiny bit funnier. Yeah. Back to the phones we go, so we can hopefully have a better call here. Let's go to line 3, where Mike has been waiting patiently on hold here on 1019 The Keg and 1620 The Zone TV. Mike, hello and welcome to this edition of Big Red Overreaction.
Hello there. Hey. I just want to talk about people clamoring to get Scott Frost fired, move on.
Yeah.
But, I watched that press conference 4 years ago, and I mean, like you said, it was a home run. And the first thing that ran through my head was Scott Frost and his staff needs at least 5 complete football seasons to get things righted. Okay? Now, that would have put him through 2022. But since last year, 2020, was a bust due to COVID, he puts that timeline back to 2023. Now, after 23, if they're still struggling like they are now, you got to make a change. But stick with Frost, because the last thing you want to do is put this football program right back in a transition, all right? They don't need that. You can't find a groove if you're always making changes, all right?
Are you serious?
Later. Yeah, I mean...
What's the argument beyond, years, though?
Well... like I said, it would have been 2022 had it would have been for last year being a bust. So 2020 was a mulligan. But
would it have been a mulligan if they won the conference?
I can go on and on and on and spin this like a doggone rotisserie grill. But like I said, you got to be patient with Frost and his staff. They need all the way through 2023 to get it righted. If they can't get it righted, I mean, Frost is going to have to change things up. If he doesn't want to, then they're going to have to separate from Frost and move on to someone else. Frost wants a quick fix right now. That team, they're going to need to make a change at quarterback. All right, because I don't know what happened to Martinez. He was electric. He was dynamic.
Probably the bad
His first
coaching.
year,
Probably the bad coaching, Bruce.
you know, right after that, it's no good.
All right, thanks for the call, Bruce, at 402-952-1019. Robbie?
That was stupid. Hey, listen, I in general agree 4 to 5 years should be about the minimum, right?
Mhm.
I in general agree with that. But the 2020 is a mulligan thing makes me angry because listen, if Nebraska had gone 5-3 instead of 3-5 and gone to a bowl game, we would have counted that in his favor, right?
Yeah.
That would have counted if they had gone on and won the West, we would have counted that in his favor, right?
Yep.
So, but it didn't go the way we wanted it to, so we're taking it all back. They lost to a Minnesota team that was down 40 guys to COVID, but that doesn't count because COVID. It's like, yeah, COVID tried to help you that day, and you still lost to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not listening to the 2020 doesn't count nonsense. This year by itself is fireable. By itself. Clawson at Wake Forest. Wake Forest, perennial. It's like Kansas, Vanderbilt, Wake Forest are the worst Power 5 football teams in all of football, right? That's basically the list. Throw Duke in there if you want some years. Those are the worst Power 5 teams in the Power 5 conferences. It took Clawson 3 years to get to a bowl game. 3 years. Even if you want to count this as year 3, which is stupid, by the way, there's no bowl in this year.
Yeah.
There's no progress this year.
Robbie, they are now a few losses away, and I said it. The most likely record, in my opinion, right now
Left
is 3-9.
3-9. Yeah,
that's
Maybe
the worst
4-8.
season. The worst season yet would be in year 4.
Which is not a good sign.
See, and here's the thing, too.
And Frost's best season is the same as Riley's worst.
It's the same as Riley's worst, and this is year 4. This is a 4-year starting quarterback. This is a super veteran.
This is as good as it's going to get.
And that's what you want to do, and that's why I wanted to read this comment from Matt earlier. He says, what's disappointing is that all Nebraska had to do was even win the most winnable Big Ten games to retain Frost, and they're just not going to give that to us. Matt, I would argue this, and this might be harsh, but I think if you're going to move on from him, you want to find out earlier rather than later. This is who they are.
This is who they've been.
This is who this program is. They are not going to do better.
This is why I didn't buy into the close losses stuff because A, most of them were 2-score games before a late touchdown made it seem closer. And B, they consistently find ways to lose games. That's not progress. They found ways to lose games in year 1.
Yeah.
They're finding new and more interesting ways to lose games in year 4. There is no progress. And listen, I'm going to take it straight from Frost's mouth, right? He thought they would be competitive, not just competitive, but good in year 2.
Yep.
Right? So obviously the rebuild was not as dramatic as we're trying to make it now, because in year 2, he thought they were going to be scary, I think was his terms.
Yep.
And it's been scary, but not in the way he meant.
Yeah.
Okay. Bill Moose says we need to get to 6, and Frost says, we can do a lot better than that in year 2. So don't go back revisionist history on me and say, the rebuild was bigger than they realized when they got here. After they had coached for a full year, they said, we're going to be really good in year 2. And guess what? They haven't been. And in year 3, COVID or no COVID, they were still bad. And in year 4, they're even worse with their most veteran defense, literally the most veteran defense you could possibly have.
I mean, Robbie, they literally will not be allowed to have a defense this veteran in future
Ever
seasons.
again.
This happened because of a once-in-a-century pandemic. Once-in-a-century pandemic. That's why they got a lot of these players back.
That's
and
why
the
you
best
have your
that they
6-year
can do
seniors.
is maybe 3-9.
And a 4-year starting quarterback.
Yeah.
This is as good as it's going to get. And it's bad, brutally bad, and getting worse. You can't tell me there's any viable reason other than this predetermined number you have in your head, or the fact that his last name is Frost and he won a national championship here as a quarterback once. You can't give me a real reason why he is your coach next year. You can't do it because it doesn't exist.
Let's go back to the phones, 402-952-1019. Heidi has been waiting on hold here for Big Red Overreaction on 1019 The Keg. Heidi, good evening. How are you? Heidi? Heidi is gone. Let us try Jake, who has been waiting on line 1. Jake is up next on Big Red Overreaction. We have a line open for you at 952-1019. Jake, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Kind of to piggyback off of what you just said, Robbie, too, and everything we heard going into this season was this is our best team. Like, this is the best squad we've had. The culture is so good. This is going to be the year. And I think it's funny that as the season has gone on, that whole talking point has changed, and I think it has ended up into the press conference today to where Scott, he sounded defeated to me, Frost did. Like he truly has nothing. You know, I think I don't know who the reporter was, but they said, you know, is there anything, you know, that you can do new, like, or is it just keep doing the same old thing? And he said, no, it's the same old thing. Going back off of that too, was Bruce the I apologize drop guy?
No, I don't think so. I think Bruce is a little bit older.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like you guys. I was like, okay, where's the punchline here? Because that's a joke.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I thought so too.
The other thing I was going to say too is that this game reminded me of Callahan, the Oklahoma State game.
Because because of all the fans leaving?
Well, I wasn't at the game, but they said on the broadcast, I think it was maybe towards the end of the third quarter, but they made mention of the fact that, you know, people were already heading for the exits, and you know, and I just got that feeling seeing the team and everything, because I'm like, at this point, what damage does keeping Frost on as head coach due to the program? You know, recruiting, the culture, like you guys were saying, the same people are being trotted out there making mistakes, and there's no change. I mean, at some point, like, it's unfathomable what's going on. I can't believe it.
Jake, thanks for the call, man, at 402-952-1019. It really is kind of staggering. You know, you think of the program, Robbie, that you grew up with, that I grew up with, that we grew up watching and rooting for and caring about, and to see it fall to this depth, you know,
it's embarrassing.
I'm
embarrassed.
It really is, man. Like, you know, the 5-6 season under Callahan, I remember when that happened in 2004, his first year, and then the 5-7 season a couple years or 3 years later in 2007. It's like, man, this is just, it's so odd because that didn't happen at Nebraska. Hell, even the 7-7 season that Frank Solich had, those types of things did not happen
Felt
around
like
here.
the sky was falling.
Right, and now, Robbie, they are.
If we could get to 7-5, I think if this team had gone 7-5, everyone would have been thrilled to death.
Yeah, it would have represented real, legitimate progress. And now they are a loss next week versus Ohio State away from their 5th straight losing season overall. 5 straight losing seasons in 6 and 7 years, man.
Yeah.
6 and 7 years. By the way, speaking of Ohio State, they trail Penn State right now 7-0 in Columbus. I said that there would be a murder live on television tonight on KETV News Watch 7. Props to Penn State for not only keeping it close, but having the lead in the first quarter. Looks like there's about 4 minutes to go in the first quarter. We are on Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Burton. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. More of your calls, more of your tweets, more of your reaction like this bad take from Mr. or Mrs. W. Lightning. Folks like Josh should really keep their ignorant opinions to themselves. Yep. Okay.
It's ignorant to say that they're going to finish 3-9 because that seems pretty accurate.
Yeah, the bad football team is bad, folks. More coming up next on Big Red Overreaction 1019 The Keg.
Thanks for checking out Big Red Overreaction on 1019 The Keg. My name is Crash Davis. Join me every Monday through Friday from 6 until 10. And just because you're listening, listen Monday morning at 7:15 for your cue to call. And when you hear me tell you to call, be the first person to get through with the word Christmas, and I will hook you up with Trans-Siberian Orchestra tickets and a gift basket from Trans-Siberian Orchestra featuring tour merchandise. That's right, 7:15, keyword Christmas, Monday morning, right here on 1019 The Keg.
Got a sink that won't drain? For a limited time, we'll open your drain for only $93 or it's free. Hi, I'm Mark Evans, owner of Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more. Sometimes a plunger just isn't enough. Burton's team of experts is on call 24/7 for emergency repairs. We offer upfront pricing, and your 100% satisfaction is guaranteed. Call for details on our 93 or free special or request service at justcallburton.com.
Hello, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. We are now open and ready to serve you at our second location at 202nd and Pacific. You may ask, why are we growing so fast? It's simple. With Equitable Bank, you get the best of both worlds. A great digital banking platform backed by our customer service. Once you bank with us, you'll never want to leave. When you're ready for a superior banking experience, give us a call at 402-827-8100. We'll answer on the first ring. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
It's Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do, do it with a Coors Light. Mountain Cold Refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
KOOO La Vista, Omaha. This is your new number one for variety. 1019 The Keg. You can listen live at 1019thekeg.com and download our app. Powered by Lus Hills Harley Davidson. Rise up and ride on.
Overreaction is on the air, featuring the most important voice of all, yours. Brought to you by Burton AC, Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
Welcome back to Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill, and also brought to you by Burton. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Alongside Ravi Lulla and Matt Stein, I'm Josh Peterson. Thank you for joining us tonight on 1019 The Keg and on 1620 The Zone TV. Corey on the YouTube page says, positive boy here. Looking forward to Josh calling John a dumbass on the program since he guaranteed we'd win today. Yeah, props to John for just hanging out, doing a Creighton game tonight, getting away from everything that's going on with Nebraska. But we certainly will talk about that on.
Who am I
Monday.
filling in for?
You are filling in for Damon.
Oh, you're welcome, Damon.
Yeah. Congratulations to Damon. Congrats to Damon. I want to read some tweets real fast before we get to a stat that I just saw from Drake Keeler over at Hale Varsity. Sean says, Josh, you just mentioned this being embarrassing. I live in NYC and feel embarrassed to wear my Husker gear anymore. It's exhausting getting the "what happened to you guys" comments. I used to travel to multiple games a year, and it's not worth the dollars anymore. And Cody says, how can I remain a Scott guy and not like the way Adrian Martinez plays or that we don't have a backup QB? That is on him. Someone on 1620 The Zone a while back said we want Scott to be the guy more than we want to win, and I fell into that camp. Yeah, Cody, not to toot my own horn, that's something that I've been saying for a while now, and I stand behind that statement. I think if you are still supporting this administration, not supporting, that makes it seem like I am rooting against them. If you still think that this group is going to be the one to get it done, or you are blindly ignoring so much of what's happening for the sake of Frost remaining another year or years for whatever reason, then yes, I think you want Scott Frost to be the head coach more than you want Nebraska to win, because they're not winning. They are now, this staff, Robbie, is now 15-26. I'm going to do the math real quick. That is a 36.6% winning percentage.
This is the least this program has won in like 60 years.
They are not getting it done. Listen,
objectively,
it's almost as bad as the Bill Jennings era.
Objectively, Mike Riley was a more successful head coach at Nebraska than Scott Frost. Bill Callahan was a more successful coach at Nebraska than Scott Frost. And it's not particularly close.
Correct.
Obviously, Bo Pelini has, or was.
Yeah.
Frank Solich was. This is not working. It's okay to say it.
Yeah. It's seeing that.
We all wanted him to be the guy.
Exactly. There was a tweet that I got just a few minutes ago. Let me see if I can find it real fast. And I do apologize because we are loaded right now with calls and tweets and comments. Matt says, do people forget that you also thought Frost was the best hire? It's not like you've been rooting against him.
No.
All of us fans would love for it to work with Frost, but they're really not giving us any evidence at all that it is. It's sad more than anything. Yeah.
I know people who personally do not like Scott Frost that were rooting for this to work.
Yeah, because you're a fan of the program.
Because they wanted it. They wanted Nebraska to be good again.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why it's, every time a coach, eventually gets close to the end. It happened with Bo, and it's happening with Frost right now. There's like this revisionist kind of history that happens. Oh, you never wanted that person to succeed. What are you talking about? Go back and listen. I know all of our pods are still available from 2017. We're talking about Scott Frost being the head coach in October of 2017 as Mike Riley's final year is coming unglued. Like, we all wanted this to work out, and it is not going to work out. I mentioned a stat from Drake Keeler. He is an intern over at Hale Varsity, has previously been with the World Herald, also the Daily Nebraskan. He says, now that the game's officially over, Purdue's only had 4 conference games without a turnover since 2018. The win over Ohio State in 2018, a win over Nebraska in 2018, a loss versus Nebraska in 2020, and today's win over Nebraska 28-25. 4 conference games without a turnover since 2018. 3 of them have come against the Big Red.
Well, and speaking against Purdue, since Scott Frost has got here, he's now 1-3 against Purdue.
1-3 against Purdue.
Against Purdue.
Yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't sum up what we're dealing with here, and this isn't a Jim Harbaugh at Michigan situation where he can't beat Michigan State or Ohio State, but he does pretty well against just about everybody else.
Yeah.
That's just a microcosm. They are 1-3 against one of the perennial doormats in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
What are they against Illinois?
They're 2-2 against Illinois. 2-2 against Illinois. They're 0-3 against Iowa. They're 0-2 against Wisconsin. You mentioned Purdue. Northwestern, they're 2-2.
They're 1-3 against Minnesota.
1-3 against Minnesota. I think we just ran through the division teams. Yeah. They're 0 and let me do the math real fast. 0-8 against their final 3 teams.
I mean, what else is there to say?
Haven't beat Iowa.
What else is there to say?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Let's go back to the phones. Looks like Matt has been waiting on hold the longest on line 3. Matt, good evening. You are on Big Red Overreaction on 101.9 The Keg and 1620 The Zone TV.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
I'll tell you what, after watching that second half today, I think they better call Burton into that West Stadium and flush this turd down. That was horrible. It was just pathetic. I was actually in the press box today, and I actually heard a former championship defensive coach say out loud that he's glad he's not in Trev Albert's shoes. And, I'm on it. I agree. I mean, this coaching staff needs to be gutted. It's way past time. I mean, I saw today Rutgers beat Illinois. I mean, us and Penn State are the only 2 teams in this league that can't beat Illinois. That is pathetic. Like you just mentioned, we continually play down to our opponents.
Yeah.
It's poor. I don't know. It's coaching. It's got to be coaching.
Yeah.
Let's sit Adrian on the bench. I mean, come on. We got other guys. The only positive thing I saw today is we actually stepped up and picked a different kicker to actually kick the ball today. And he did pretty good. But that's about the only bright spot I could see today. And how can 3 guys on that onside kick, it looked to me like 3 guys were on top of that onside kick.
Yeah.
And suddenly Purdue comes up with it? Give me a break. I was one of the doubters with Frost in the beginning, but they hired him. Okay, that's fine. I could handle it. I'm like, okay, let's see how this experiment plays out and stuff. But whoever earlier said that 2020 was a mulligan, that's total BS.
Bruce, yeah.
Step up and be a big boy.
Yeah.
Everybody had to play the same rules last year. No fans in the stands. We only played through, the 8 games or whatever like that. Minnesota comes down here to Lincoln in our house, has maybe a third of their team because either they're hurt or most of them are sick with COVID, and we can't win that ball game? Give me a break. This is just pathetic. I tell you what, I honestly felt like the Jayhawks are playing in our house today. That's about what we look like anymore. And actually, Jayhawks have been playing better competitive ball. So it's horrible. I don't know what else to say.
Thanks for the call, Matt, at 402-952-1019. And thanks for the plug for Burton when you're plumbing. Just call Burton. Apparently Memorial Stadium needs to call Burton right now.
I mean, Nebraska and Kansas do have that close loss to Oklahoma in common, so maybe they're both making progress.
Damn. Damn. CJ says if they get rid of Frost, do you think that'll divide the fan base again? Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, I'm sure it will, and I don't understand it.
It's funny. There are some comments right now that are saying, are we sure that Trev has a tough decision to make? And it's like, you know what? It's a fair question right now. Does he have a tough decision to make?
I don't think it's a difficult decision,
I don't
but
either.
I also am concerned that they think it's not a difficult decision in the other direction.
Yeah, because of what we just mentioned about the fan base.
Yeah, and because of the fan base, which, okay, that's a bad reason to keep a coach. Nostalgia is a bad reason to keep a coach.
Hell yeah, it is.
Fear of who are we going to get is a bad reason to keep a coach. The only reasons to keep the coach are bad reasons.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all that's left are bad reasons to keep Frost.
Yeah, Jesse wants to know, are boosters still clinging to Frost? Look, I'm to the point where it's just like, how?
Yeah, if this is what you're paying for, like if this is the return on your investment, how can you be happy with this?
Yeah, that's the way to describe it.
Because that's what it is. They're investing in the program, and the result that they're trying to pay for is wins. And he has been spectacularly unsuccessful at that.
Yeah.
In a way that we haven't seen in over 50 years. That's the bottom line.
402-952-1019. Let's go back to the phones. George is up next on Big Red Overreaction as Nebraska falls to 3-6 on the season. George, good evening. George?
Oh, I'm here.
Hey, George.
I'm here, guys.
What's going on?
Hey, I just wanted to say, I go to school in a school that's an hour south of Minneapolis. Me and my buddy Dylan drove 4.5 hours last night to get to Omaha.
Oh no!
And went to this game, and I cannot tell you how much of a disappointment this was. The amount of time, effort. I should have known. This team, they let us down every single week. You know, I wanted to show him what Memorial Stadium was all about, what Nebraska is all about, and I just cannot believe how horrible they played. It's just, I don't even know what to think anymore. And everyone's got this mindset of, oh, well, Scott Frost, if he doesn't work, who are they going to get? Who else? What other school thinks like that? Why is Nebraska got to be the school that everyone's like, oh, well, it won't work at Nebraska. They can't go. If it doesn't work with Scott Frost, nothing else is going to work. That doesn't make sense anywhere else. They didn't, like you guys said earlier, they didn't say that at Alabama when they had about 5 duds in a row. And so, yeah, we're going to keep Scott Frost around, and he's going to fail the next 3 years. We're going to go 4-8, 4-8, 4-8 again and again and again. And then everyone's going to sit around and go, what the hell happened? What do you – this – I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. I'm so mad, so upset, but got a 5-hour drive tonight. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So I'm going to listen to this show for the rest of the night. Thanks, guys.
All right, George, drive safely back up to Minnesota. See, and that's the type of stuff that still, in a way will blow me. It blows me away with this fan base in that you have somebody like George who will make that type of trip for a team that was going into this game 3-5. At the best case scenario, Ravi, was that they would still be under 500 by the end of the day.
Yeah.
And he made that trip hoping to see something. And you saw the stadium today. And yeah, there were empty seats, at various points. I got some texts from people who were there. Hey, it's a little thinner than normal. And certainly people were leaving as the game unfolded, but it's still a fairly full stadium for a program that at best would have left the game at 4-5. And those are the fans that I'm feeling for right now. And that's why everyone's, you love this, you love it. Why would I love this? Why would I love the possibility for somebody like George not wanting to come back, not wanting to make the trip anymore because they're so bad? I don't like that. It is not good for this state when this program suffers. It is not good for this state when they continue to play football that is uninspiring. It is not good for the state if Nebraska football finishes 3-9 this year in year 4 with this staff, with this coach in particular, because I know that there will be some who say, if he can't get it done, why am I going to get invested anymore? And I will say, look, that's a bad attitude to have, but I know that those types of fans exist, and that is such a bummer. This seemed like, as John Bishop always describes it, Ravi, as the break glass in case of emergency hire. And I think a lot of people have mentally viewed it that way as well. This sucks. This sucks that this is what this football program has become. But man, it can be better, and they can do better. It has to be. They have to keep trying.
The reason I keep bringing up all these other coaches that have taken worse situations with less history and turned it around quicker is not to just pile on Scott Frost. Part of it is to show that, hey, this isn't normal in a rebuild. But part of it's to say there's a lot of coaches capable of turning this around. There's a lot of coaches capable of in 1, 2, 3 years getting this thing back on track in a hurry, right?
Yeah.
That's why I bring up people like Clausen at Wake Forest or Aranda at Baylor or Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss or Mel Tucker at Michigan State. That's why I bring those people up. It's not to say, oh, look how this is even worse for Scott Frost, although I do use it as a point of reference. It's also to say, look, there's a lot of these coaches would love to be in a place like Nebraska.
Yeah.
Baylor is not a better job than Nebraska, but they've gotten the hire right 3 times now since Nebraska's gotten one right. Okay? It's not impossible.
It's not.
Baylor has no history, has very little resources, and is one of the smallest Power 5 football schools.
And look at the controversies that they're coming off.
And they've got so much more baggage
so much
than
more.
Nebraska does.
Nebraska's baggage is like, oh, they keep firing coaches.
It's like
Baylor's baggage is assaults.
Nebraska's baggage is your personal item on Southwest. Like that, you don't even have to pay for that. You don't even have to check that baggage. Baylor has, just as an example, they've gotten it right 3 times. It's not impossible to get it right. You just have to do it once at a place like Nebraska. At Baylor, you keep having to do it because A, controversies, and B, people move on to better jobs.
Guys go to the NFL.
But when Nebraska's going good, there's not that many better jobs. There's really not. And I think that's something that I'm trying to give you a frame of reference for it doesn't have to be like this in year 4. But I'm also trying to give you a frame of reference that there's a lot of good football coaches out there at places not as good as Nebraska. And those are guys you can get. Those are people you can get for this job. And I mean, listen, PJ Fleck had it right. It was a culture versus talent thing, and their culture won. Minnesota's not more talented than Nebraska. Most of the teams Nebraska's played this year aren't more talented than Nebraska. And they keep losing. The culture is set by the head coach. I genuinely don't believe he knows how to create a culture. I don't think he knows how to do it.
It's hard to argue otherwise.
And if he did, wouldn't we see signs of that at this point? Wouldn't we see progress towards that at this point? And we haven't.
Yeah. Sadi, I think I'm gonna call this person Salty. Stop lying. The worse this program is, the better the views, listens, tweets, and clicks you get. If we were 5-3 and won by 14, you'd be at home by now. First of all, no, we would not. We're not allowed to leave that fast. Second of all, I've only covered essentially a losing program in my time at 1620 The Zone. And tonight on 101.9 The Keg on Unsportsmanlike Conduct. I've only covered a losing program. I've had 2 good years, 2 years of above 500 football, 2 years. They can't keep doing this. And this is why, like, that tweet is idiotic.
Yeah.
And here's why it's idiotic. Because if me, and I'll just speak for myself, if myself in this industry expected that Nebraska could just keep losing games and that fans would just keep listening and watching this program, that they wouldn't go away, it'd be a laughable idea, because that's not true. Because I know everybody has a breaking point. Some of my friends, I mean, really most of my friends, are some of the most hardcore football fans or Nebraska football fans that I know. And this is wearing on them. You know, my relationships with these guys was formed on this program and watching this team and going to games, road and home. And if they are checking out, if they're like, I just don't know if I can do this, I'd rather spend time with my family. You think that that's not happening with many of our listeners, or many of our listeners' friends, or many of our listeners' family members? And so, no, I take umbrage with stupid ass tweets like that.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, you want this? No, I don't. Why is it good for anybody in this state if the program's never good again? It's bad. Eventually, everyone's going to have a breaking point. And I think that we're getting darn close to that right now. And I don't like it.
I don't think we're terribly far. I mean, we're only a few weeks removed from having to start some nonsense program to make sure Fordham sold out.
Yeah.
We're years removed from the sellout streak being legitimate.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Nebraska fans have a much higher breaking point than most.
Sure. Yeah, they show that every
There's
week.
a resilience to this fan base that, frankly, I admire and I'm in awe of a lot of times, because there's times where I'm like, why do we keep doing this to ourselves?
Yeah.
Why? And we come back next week anyway, or we come back next fall
I'll be watching
anyway.
the game next week with friends.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where the resiliency does have a limit. And even though the limit's much higher around here than it is other places, the limit does exist.
Yeah, it does.
And if you get to that limit, it's a disaster for everyone involved.
It really is.
Anyone who makes any kind of living off of sports in this state, it's a disaster for them. So to even think that's possibly true is, like you said, idiotic.
Yeah.
The
It's
only
stupid.
time that
it's stupid.
The only time that a team being bad or there being a coaching change is good is if it's all positive around that. So if you're, let's say, Alabama, okay? You're Alabama, you're winning. If they went 6-6 and people started wanting to fire Nick Saban, that would be incredible for their ratings, right? But they've won 6 national titles in the last 11 years. That's why it would be good for their ratings.
Yeah. That's why, like, the 2007 season around here was insane for radio and for television
Yes,
and newspapers.
But when you're constantly bad,
thank you,
it's not helpful at all.
Yeah.
Because eventually people reach their breaking point and say, hey, maybe there's a better way I can invest my time, money, emotions, all of these things, right?
Yeah.
At a certain point, it's bad for your mental health to continue doing this thing and thinking it's going to go differently, which is part of the reason why I don't want to wait around until Bruce's 2023 nonsense season to make sure that we don't fire him too early. Guess what? It's year 4. It's the most experienced team you're ever going to have with a 4-year starting quarterback. This is as good as it gets. If you can't get it done now, you can't get it done, period.
By the way, Nebraska's next opponent, Ohio State, a ruling on the field is that they just fumbled the ball and Penn State got it. They are reviewing it right now.
Ohio State losing, by the way, is the worst thing that could happen to Nebraska.
I think so too. They come out and they just murder you next week because they're not happy about it.
No, if they lose to Penn State this week, they're putting up 60 on Nebraska.
Couple tweets real fast before we get back to the phone. Steve says, putting on a Nebraska game for me anymore is like going to the dentist. I don't do it because I want to do it, because I feel like I have to. And I've been a fan since I was a little kid, 50 years now. Jordan, kind of at that same headspace, says, there are people who went to UNL partly because they could go to all the games, me, and they are checked out, also me. Jordan, I'm right there with you, man. Why did I go to UNL? Well, I heard they had a good broadcasting school, check, but also I wanted to go to the football games. That's why I chose them over other universities that I got accepted into. One more tweet. Husker Follower says, I feel worse for the players than for the fans. There is always another year for the fans. The players only have so many, and several came back just for this last year. Allen, Doman, Martinez, others all deserve better. Yeah, and I mean, I remember Ravi, like the Callahan players. And I always thought, like, wow, we're going to refer to these guys as kind of like this lost generation where they were a part of the worst era that Nebraska had since the 50s and early 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, then they get back to glory, and this group of players would just kind of be forgotten about over time. And now that's what every senior class is. That's what every group is. They have not won a conference championship since 1999. Obviously, that streak is going to continue. They are, after they lose one of these final 3 games, and probably next week, they're going to go sub 500 again. It really is. It really is just sad. Let's go back to the phones before we take a break. Helms has been waiting on hold on line 1. Helms is up next on Big Red Overreaction. Good evening.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes, very upsetting game. I took my 14-year-old to the game for his birthday, and it was upsetting.
Yeah.
We think Scott needs one more year, but let's look at the good part of this. We have a kicker. Did you see Chase Contreras?
I did, yes.
Did you see him? We have a kicker.
All right, there we go. The positive folks. Ravi?
I don't care. I'm sorry. I can't.
You can't even feign excitement for the kicker?
I can't give you fake excitement for the kicker because they threw too many interceptions for the kicker to get any real opportunities anyway. So I can't do it. I'm sorry. I'm glad that you found a silver
Hey,
lining.
the positive folks
to this dumpster fire.
We're the positive boys. You can be the positive gal.
But I can't. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
Yeah. Chuck says, I'm as diehard as they get. Tonight, I was tempted to keep watching a show I've already seen over turning the game on. I thought to myself, I would like several hours on Saturday back now before it's super cold. Yeah. And today was a great Saturday. A great Saturday. Comment on the YouTube page from Fred says, ooh, this lady hates her child. Wow.
I was going to say, I think she needs to buy him another birthday present, to be honest.
Rustin said, did that caller mistake this show for being the Husker Sports Radio Network show? That show's starting soon. Bigger Overreaction brought to you by Rotella's Italian Bakery. The key to any tailgate is brat dog and burger buns from Rotella's Italian Bakery. And also brought to you by Burton. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. We have heard that the plumbing at Memorial Stadium is hurting. There's some turds. There's some
Need
turds.
flushed.
Need a lot of flushing. Logan says, LOL, why does he deserve one more year? That's the question.
That's my question, right? Yeah. If it's any other last name, if it's any other person, if you can give me a real reason why he deserves, I would love to hear it, honestly.
Yeah. I'm
not being facetious here. If you have a real reason why Scott Frost deserves more time, why he shouldn't be fired Monday morning, I'd love to hear it. Because at this point,
he needs more time.
My mind has switched to he needs more time is not a reason. That's just a statement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give me the reason why he needs the extra year. What do you think will be accomplished by the extra year? Because at this point, I'm thinking, okay, let's fire him Monday morning so we can get the jump on some of the candidates.
I wouldn't do it, but maybe that's just partly my mindset is I know he won't do it, or I figure he won't do it.
I don't think he will either, but at this point,
it's a good question. I mean, really, it's one that, maybe John and I need to explore.
Fired their head coach at 5-3.
I guess here's my question, that I'll pose to you. What is the benefit of doing it early? Like, what does it? Is it just you get the jump on the candidate? Because let me play devil. I'm just playing devil's advocate right now. Is he not already doing that behind the scenes?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
But a lot of coaches don't like having conversations about jobs that aren't open. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
A lot of, especially at that level, don't like having conversations with people about jobs that are not open. So I think when you say, hey, we're open for business here, let's get this thing rolling, you can have real conversations.
Yeah. 402-952-1019. We will take more of your calls, emails, tweets, YouTube comments. And look, the bad opinions are welcome too, like the one from the salty guy. More bad opinions, more good opinions, though.
I would prefer better opinions. But
we're the good opinion boys. Good opinion boys. He's Ravi. I am Josh. More Big Red Overreaction next on 1019 The Keg.
Thanks for checking out Big Red Overreaction on 1019 The Keg. My name is Crash Davis. Join me every Monday through Friday from 6 until 10. And just because you're listening, listen Monday morning at 7:15 for your cue to call. And when you hear me tell you to call, be the first person to get through with the word Christmas, and I will hook you up with Trans-Siberian Orchestra tickets and a gift basket from Trans-Siberian Orchestra featuring tour merchandise. That's right, 7:15, keyword Christmas, Monday morning, right here on 1019 The K.
One of the things, DB, I love about betting on FanDuel Sportsbook is you get more than one shot to swing for the fences, whether it's from the left side or the right side. We're hitting homers, baby.
Yeah, dingers, that's a great thing. And right now, existing users can get up to $25 back in site credit each day just to place a minimum of a 5-leg baseball parlay. If it falls one leg short, you still get up to $25 back with, what they like to call
insurance.
A little parlay insurance.
There's a reason why FanDuel is the number one sports book. The app's simple to use. It really is. And you have so many different things to bet on. Plus, you have, as you mentioned, parlay insurance.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Just remember, go to the FanDuel site, download the app, enter the promo code ZONE. If you haven't, shame on you. Understand geofencing. Get over in Iowa where it's legal.
21 and present Iowa. First online real money wager only for risk-free bet. Refund issued as a non-withdrawable site credit. Expires in 7 days. Max refund $25 per game. Restrictions apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. Game problem code 1-800-BETS-OFF.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do, do it with a Coors Light. Mountain Cold Refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
It's Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Hello, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. We are now open and ready to serve you at our second location at 202nd and Pacific. You may ask, why are we growing so fast? It's simple. With Equitable Bank, you get the best of both worlds. A great digital banking platform backed by our customer service. Once you bank with us, you'll never want to leave. When you're ready for a superior banking experience, give us a call at 402-827-8100. We'll answer on the first ring. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
More info and opinions on Big Red than one station can handle. Now on 2 stations. Big Red Overreaction postgame on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. Sound off. 402-951-1620. Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Burton AC, Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
Welcome back. Big Red Overreaction on 1019 The Keg and 1620 The Zone TV. We are brought to you by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill. And also brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. 402-952-1019. That is the phone number for tonight's edition of Big Red Overreaction. We do appreciate all of you joining us either on YouTube or on The Keg tonight, as we are not on 1620 The Zone because Creighton's basketball season has begun. I'm guessing your pregame show was great, Ravi? Is it a great show?
It was terrific.
Awesome.
Wonderful as always.
Uh-huh.
And live, obviously.
Live, definitely live. It was amazing watching you run back and forth to do this show and that show.
Yeah, I really appreciate you timing the breaks up for me.
Yeah, and the breaks being like 7 minutes long. So
Yeah,
you could knock it out.
It was really considerate of you. I appreciate that.
A couple emails real fast into the Equitable Bank inbox. Riley says, it's pretty clear that anyone calling saying Frost shouldn't be fired are just opposing Big Ten coaches disguising their voices because they want to continue facing Frost. Do you think, Robbie, that we have heard from Kirk Ferentz tonight after licking the wounds after another tough loss for the Hawkeyes? Perhaps we heard from Brett Bielema tonight?
I did think Bruce sounded uncannily like PJ Fleck.
You thought so? Yeah. And then it was odd, too, when he logged off and said, row the boat. And we're like, wait, what in the world are you talking about? Larry in Omaha emails in, FYI, the pump up, and he puts that in quotes, video at the end of the third quarter was highlights of the Michigan game and Frost's press conference quotes about how close they are. I kid you not. I almost left out of protest. That's disgusting.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
That's gross. Yeah. I know a lot of people were pretty bummed about the lack of the light show, but I mean, come on, it was still daytime. The sun hadn't set all the way, so that's what's going to happen sometimes.
Yeah, so just show highlights from a game you lost and talk about guys. We're so close. We're doing so good.
A nice backhanded compliment on Twitter from Tito. Scary. I seldom agree with Josh. But in this case, I absolutely agree. Frost has to go. So there you go. Some folks joining us. I don't know. Are we being the positive boys or the negative boys tonight?
I'm always a positive boy. And I'm positive that Frost needs to be fired.
Yeah. Yeah. I am too. Maxim says, I think a good promotion for the show is the winner of the contest gets to watch the game with the 1620 guys and sit in studio during the show. The problem is, I mean, if we want to do that prize, I'm sure some of our fine sales folks are listening right now. Watching the game with me, and you would be a little hard. You left at the end of the third quarter. I left about halfway through the fourth quarter because I live so close. So
we'd have to arrange it so we were either watching it here,
on
like
the tiny ass
downstairs.
TV. Yeah.
Because they've got the thing downstairs that John used for Creighton games last year, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you could maybe do like a viewing down there. There's couches and stuff. It wouldn't be bad.
There you go. Robbie volunteers to watch games in the future with fans.
That needs to be a paid assignment, though, Dave, if you're listening.
Oh, there you go. Nice. Let's go back to the phones, 402-952-1019. We have two Gregs on hold right now, so we're going to go with Greg on line 2, Matt. If you are Greg on line 1, you don't know that you're on line 1, so you're probably just going to answer me right now. Greg, hello. How are you?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, Greg.
Yeah, I just want to, I'm calling in because you guys are picking on Scott Frost a little too much, and I think he deserves a little more time. I'm kidding. Totally kidding.
Okay.
No, I just wanted. I'm calling in. I'm done. I'm over it. Each week it's the same old show, same old talk. What I'm calling in is, what's it going to take to, I like your list of new coaches, and I've often said that a couple of years ago, we backed the truck up at Matt Campbell's driveway. I think that would just be awesome. So I guess my question is, what's it going to take to get something like that? I mean, we've got a starving fan base. We got new facilities. And I liked how you said, the Big 12 is not what it is. I mean, I think Matt Campbell would be the answer. You're right. I don't know if we could get a Luke Fickell.
Yeah.
But I guess my question is, what would be the process of going forward? So.
Thanks for the call, Greg, at 402-952-1019. I mean, look,
it's a pretty simple process, right?
Well, you fire a guy.
Yeah, you fire the guy, or you start gauging interest before you fire the guy, which a lot of ADs do. I understand that.
Yeah.
And you start with the list of make them say no, but you don't actually make offers, so that your guy you actually offer to is your first choice, quote unquote, whatever.
Yeah.
But you make the calls to Matt Campbell and Luke Fickell and Lane Kiffin and say, hey, if there were to be an opening that came up sometime at a major university located in Nebraska to coach football, would you be interested?
Yeah.
And you go from there. And then you go down your list until you get a yes, I might be interested. And then you have the conversation a little bit further down the road. But it's a pretty simple process, really.
Yeah.
You start with a list, you start at the top of the list, and you gauge interest. That's all it is.
Yeah, the thing with Campbell is, and look, I'm not a reporter. I say that. I hear things. I'm not a reporter, though. I've heard that people close to him think that he'd be interested in the job. Now, that is like second, third-hand information.
But it makes sense, right?
It does.
Iowa State is a place where it's very difficult to sustain success.
Yeah.
Even if you attain it, they don't have the infrastructure of a place like Nebraska. Now, they've got the wins that a place like Nebraska doesn't currently have, despite their loss today. But it's much more difficult to maintain success at a place without the infrastructure.
Sure, and
and again, the conference realignment, like you said, their infrastructure could get a whole lot worse pretty soon.
Yeah, you could make the argument, man. We've talked about if this is the best Nebraska can do under Scott Frost, it's obviously time to move on, and you and I unequivocally feel that way about the program right now. But there could be an argument made that whatever happens at the end of this season for Iowa State, and if you take last year into account too, that he has probably gotten all of the juice squeezed out of, I'm a margarita guy, so I'm going to say lime. He's gotten all of the juice squeezed out of that lime.
What kind of tequila do you like?
Altos. I'm a reposado guy. Put a little jalapeno in there. That he's gotten everything he can out of the Iowa State job, because that job has a ceiling.
It does.
That job has
100%.
a ceiling.
100%.
And so I think Iowa State has gotten everything they can. And so if I am him, and I'm looking at my program and I'm saying, can we do any better? If he can be honest with himself and say, I don't know if we can do better. And then he looks at the league itself and says, is this league going to be in a spot that allows me and our program to reach our potential? And if he says no, or our potential is going to lower, which I think is the more important question in this conversation, that's when I think Matt Campbell leaving becomes a realistic proposition.
And I think we're at that spot. I do
too. And look, I don't think that USC would really kick the tires on him. I don't think LSU would kick the tires on him.
No, LSU sounds like Mel Tucker all the way.
I've always thought that Matt Campbell was going to be somebody, and I put Fickell into this boat too, though I think Fickell has a better shot of landing Ohio State if when that job opens. Where Fickell has been kind of waiting for some of the big Midwestern jobs, and the obvious ones: Notre Dame, Ohio State, and I think Michigan.
I honestly wonder if Mel Tucker goes to LSU, if Fickell would be interested in Michigan State.
And that would be a really interesting move. And so let's pretend that both Michigan State and Nebraska open in the same year. What's the better job? What path do you like better?
Sure.
I think you certainly make
you like the path of the West better, right?
Bingo. Exactly.
And the infrastructure and commitment. Michigan State's a basketball school.
Yeah.
As good as they've been in football, Michigan State's a basketball school.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
You said something earlier. I get that this place has pressure. It's not for everybody. We saw I'm going to be an NBA boy for a second.
Yes,
sir. We saw in the NBA playoffs, Ben Simmons is not meant for those moments.
Philly.
Some people
not meant for Philly.
Look, I like being on the air when important big things happen. I know that there are some in, I'm not saying local. I'm just saying, like, I know that there are people who are like, you know what? I'd rather not be on the air that night. It's kind of scary, with what you're having to do. I think some people are meant for important jobs or big moments, big shows, big games, whatever it is. I think of all the negatives that Nebraska has, and I get that there are negatives, I also think that there are a lot of positives of, man, I would love to be the guy to get it done there. So
100%. There is a huge upside
Positive
to Nebraska.
voice.
There's a huge upside to Nebraska. I got a question over text.
Okay.
And it was, I thought, super interesting.
Okay.
Has there ever been a coaching hire that was as hyped as Frost's that went as poorly? Because this was nationally, not just locally, nationally considered a great home run hire.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have one that comes to the top of my head.
Yeah, I'd have to really, really think on it.
But
I'd
off the
have to
top
really
of my
think
head,
on
I
it.
mean, if you go back to, like I mentioned, Tom Herman was the big guy.
He got
his
to bowl,
year out.
He got him to
He
bowl
got
games.
to bowl games, 8-9 wins.
Yeah.
Was much better than
He
Frost.
went to a conference championship.
Yeah, went to conference championship. Did much better than Frost. Still got fired.
Yeah,
but did much better.
Yeah,
than
Harbaugh.
Frost.
He's
Had
won the
his
division,
struggles, but he's
had more
still
success.
8, 9, 10 wins a year.
They're going to bowl games.
I can't think of one.
I can't either. It's a solid question.
I thought it was super interesting because
depressing.
It's incredibly depressing.
Yeah.
But again, just goes back to my point that winning the press conference doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back to the phones. 402-952-1019. Greg, the other Greg, has been waiting on hold here on Big Red Overreaction. Greg, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, what's up, guys? So question for you. I just want to know what you guys think it looks like for Adrian Martinez to actually be benched during a game, because I feel like I'm watching him out there like it's the movie Replacements, with the main quarterback. He's just throwing interceptions. He just doesn't care. And I feel like Adrian Martinez has no repercussions for some of his actions. And so, just what do you think? I mean, what is it? 5 interceptions? Or
4 interceptions today.
Well, yeah, what does it look like, for him to be benched? Because I feel like today was just to show people that, he can't be benched. I feel like he just, it looks like he's untouchable when he definitely shouldn't be.
Greg, thanks for the call at 402-952-1019. Look, I don't think that the answer is going to make Greg or any of the other folks that are ready to move on from Martinez very happy. Here's a quote from Scott Frost on whether Nebraska considered changing quarterbacks in the second half. Not really. In my mind, I did. We didn't talk about it. So he thought about it, but not really, and they did not talk about it. What is it going to take? I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't either, for various reasons. A, because Scott Frost has hitched his wagon so tightly to Martinez's that this is just, they're going to ride this out. Secondly, I don't think, and listen, we don't know because we haven't seen very much of Smothers. We don't know, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know that Smothers is the guy either. Again, we don't know. Thirdly, if it did happen, and I think this is a viable option just to show the accountability that we've been talking about, is sit him down for a series. You went 3 and out or threw an interceptions, 3 and out, 4 and out, or threw an interception, 7 out of your 8 drives in the second half. Would it have really been disastrous to sit Martinez down for a drive and be like, hey, take a breath?
See, but you just said the thing, right? Frost got sat down for a planned series in 1997.
And he's got like PTSD, and he's been making mistakes about it ever since.
Absolutely does.
He's the only one still thinking about that.
He is, except for me because I just brought it up. But he is.
But you're bringing it up because he keeps bringing it up.
Yes, he does not want to do that, and that sucks.
But that's stupid.
That sucks.
He's purposefully not keeping his quarterback accountable because of something that happened to him. And by the way, worked 20 years ago. It worked. They won the national title. It worked.
Yeah.
He was better after he got benched.
Yeah.
It worked. And he's still upset about it 20 years later.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
402-952-1019. We'll get to Brooks' phone call in just a moment. A couple of names that I've heard from a lot of people on the YouTube. A couple USC coaches, actually. Lane Kiffin, in terms of hyped guys that failed, Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian. And I'll hear those, but Lane Kiffin had them 11-2 or 10-2 in 2011, and they finished inside the top 4, I believe, in the AP poll. And even Sark took them to a bowl game. That's the thing, is it's not just super hyped that didn't go the way they wanted it to. Yeah, it's super hyped.
Almost none of them have gone this badly.
Yeah.
It's crazy how badly this has gone, considering how hyped Scott Frost was. And listen, I said it at the time. I still thought this was a good hire, but the resume was a little softer than people made it seem.
You were hoping that his resume, while light, would be one where you're kind of getting out a little bit ahead, right?
You're like, okay, maybe this is a year or two too early.
Yeah.
But you still are getting a good coach. That's what I thought was happening.
Yeah.
But the resume was pretty soft in terms of the way it was portrayed.
Oh, sure.
Not just by us locally, but nationally.
Everybody. We all missed it.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where you look at it, he's had one winning season as a head coach.
Michael points out, and then he went to rehab. And that's true. This is not to say that his time did not end in a more
poorly.
Yeah, because it was a bad time. It was a really bad time, and I hope
got more wins than Frost has.
Yeah, certainly. All right, let's go back to the phones. 402-952-1019 here on Big Red Overreaction. Brooke is up next this evening as we get closer and closer to logging off for the evening. Brooke, good evening. How are you?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey Brooke.
Hey, so Ravi, you were talking about like the hire and the press conference and everything. I think, and this is just my theory, but I think why so many people, and you've had some stupid calls tonight calling, well, got to give him until 2023, or you got to call him Mr. Frost or whatever the hell it was. Is that I think Frost was kind of like the last opportunity where we collectively as a fan base and like the national media and everyone was like in 100% total agreement that this was his time and that was the coaching hire to make. I think why everyone is like so hesitant to like refuse what their eyes are telling them in terms of the product on the field is that I think everybody is just terrified that since it's not going to be Scott Frost and, he was kind of the golden child and has connections to Osborne and everything, that if it's not him, the dominance that Nebraska had as a football program is like totally gone. And I think people are just, you hear it in the phone calls tonight, people are just, ready to check out. And I think part of it has to do with the fact that this was supposed to be like the last great shot that we had at, dominance being under, a quote unquote Nebraska guy. And it's obviously not going to happen. Having said that though, I was going to ask you guys, do you have any, I don't want to say fear, but like reticence that Trev Alberts as an athletic director, his only experience with football has been, to shutter the program down at UNO.
Yeah.
But that he doesn't have experience in kind of doing the backdoor channel thing with football coaches and speaking to agents and everything like that. What's your level of concern, or I guess what confidence do you have that, it could kind of compound the problem that, the team now is horrible, but then, he just completely botches any type of coaching search?
Brooke, thanks for the call at 402-952-1019.
Question.
It's a really good question. It really is.
And fair, I think.
Honestly, I don't know what my level of concern would be. I guess it's always there'd be some level of concern just given that this.
Anybody who hasn't made a football hire before, you have a level of concern, right?
Yeah, and especially one at a job like this, with the money like this and the resources like this, and in this era with this coach that you're going to have to move on from.
But let me say, my level of concern for that scenario is much less than my level of concern if they run it back with Frost.
I would agree.
Also, for what it's worth, Lane Kiffin, in what appears to be about 10 seasons as a head football coach, has had one losing season ever. Wow. None of them were at USC.
JD points out, only person would be Willie Taggart going from Oregon to Florida State.
Yeah, but nobody at Florida State liked that hire. I can say as a Florida State fan, no one liked that hire. Everybody thought that was a crap hire.
Yeah, this is like, it's a hard kind of question to answer because we're all thinking of different things right now. But I guess ultimately what we're talking about is, the X and Y axis, like super duper hype, a lot of failure.
Yeah.
And there's varying levels
Taggart
of hype.
definitely hits the failure.
Yeah, but did he have the,
he did not have the
did
hype.
he have the hype? That's a good question. 402-952-1019. Aaron says, Josh, I said going into the Frost era that he should get at least 5 years no matter what. I didn't want another quick coaching change. When I said no matter what, I could not have even imagined a 3 or 4 win season in year 4. I didn't believe it was possible. I stand corrected. I can't believe there's any level of debate on this. He's gotta go. And I appreciate an email like that from Aaron.
Sure, where
because
they kind of
it's acknowledging we thought he had a long runway. We also didn't think it'd be this bad.
That's the thing. When people say no matter what, if they had gone 0-12 for the first 3 years, that's not a scenario that we considered, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not really a no matter what. It's a no matter what in the realm of possibilities that we're actually considering. I don't think any of us considered we'd be talking about, okay, if he gets to 4 wins, does that save his job?
Yeah,
That's a real conversation people are having right now in year 4 is if he gets to 4-8, does he save his job?
Yeah.
Are we serious right now?
And that's where it goes from, once again, X and Y axis, time needed or time available and objective failure. Corey says, I know people will be concerned about Trev making a football hire, but look at the hire he made for the UNO hockey program. And that's a great argument. If you're worried about it, it's not like he was a hockey guy and he came in and he did something big pretty much right out of the chute for them. Another coach, this is one from Michael. Charlie Strong at Texas. Certainly a failure.
I think he had winning seasons, though.
Did have winning seasons.
That's the thing. That's like, it all comes back to like, yeah, they were abject failures. They all had winning seasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
he went,
all these guys.
Okay. So I guess he went 6-7, 5 and so he went 6-7, 5-7, 5-7.
Okay.
So,
so they went to a bowl game year 1. They lost the bowl game.
They did.
And then
he didn't have winning seasons,
Gross.
but 16-21 through 3 years, still better than Frost had.
Still one more win than Frost has had in almost 4.
So, and also, I don't think Strong was as hyped going to Texas as Frost was coming to Nebraska. Maybe I'm misremembering.
I don't think he was, but I mean, look, you want to talk about most hyped coaches that have been hired in the last decade? Frost would be amongst the list of.
He's as high as he's about as high as they get.
I mean, look, Urban Meyer more hyped. 12 or
obviously
9 years ago,
Saban was more hyped,
but other than that,
we're talking that we're apples and oranges here.
Aiden writes in, I'm just kind of sitting back and watching others eat crow with their Frost take, knowing I picked 4-8 in July. I can't be upset with the results when I expected this. Fire Frost into the sun. All right, somebody, no one's calling for him to go into the sun. Please don't say that.
Somebody mentioned Chip Kelly, which 3-9, 4-8, 3-4 last year, but they're 5-3 this year.
5-3, yeah.
So I mean, you're close. You're getting closer, but you still don't have anybody whose record at their time is worse than Frost's.
Yeah. All right, let's take one more call this segment, and then we will go to break. We will come back and we will wrap up the show. David has been waiting on hold the longest on line 2 here on Big Red Overreaction. David, good evening.
Hey, fellas.
Hey, David.
Hey, I'll make this quick. I got a couple things. So one, I know we got some big names that we would love to go after for coach, the Baylor coach, Luke, whatever. I would love to see Mike Leach. I just think that would be so fun. As far as looking for a coach, I'm not worried about that because I think they would probably go to a firm, because a search firm. So, those things always work out pretty well. But with Scott Frost, I remember when he was first brought on, I just remember some people saying, he's such a Nebraska guy. If things don't work out, he would probably step down before he got fired. So I'll be honest with you guys. The last couple of games, I've been like Monday or Tuesday, like, oh, Scott Frost is saying this is his last season, kind of following the LSU blueprint. So I wanted Scott Frost to work. It's not working. And I hope he pulls his own plug.
All right.
Just to make things easy.
Yeah, thanks for the call, David, at 402-952-1019. And you can get in line right now as well and join Terry and Mike, rather, right now. And those will be the final few calls that we take. I've heard that opinion, that theory for a while. I know I've asked people that, I kind of trust, like, do you think that he would actually do that? I don't think he would. I don't think he will.
I don't buy it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a thing. Somebody, just for the hype coaches, somebody said Rich Rod at Michigan.
Hey, he went 11-2 his first year.
Not at Michigan. Rich Rod didn't.
Oh, no. My bad. I was thinking of Brady Hoke. Yeah. Rich Rod failed.
But 7-6 in year 3 before he got fired.
Yeah.
He had a winning season in year 3, 15-22 after 3 years. How many wins does Frost have through almost 4? 15?
15 and 26, Robbie.
That's worse than 15 and 22, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. Has Frost been to a bowl game?
No.
And Rich Rod did. Okay, just checking.
This edition of Big Red Overreaction brought to you by Rotella's Italian Bakery. The key to any tailgate is brought dog and burger buns from Rotella's Italian Bakery. Also brought to you by Burton. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. All right, we have 3 people left on hold. See if we can get to any other tweets and emails as well. I will be honest. I had somebody send me a message and say, hey, you missed the comment that I had on the YouTube page.
There's like a million of them, and they're going so fast. I'm sorry.
They are flying so fast. People are, sometimes I can't tell if they're arguing with me. Sometimes I can't tell if they're arguing with each other. I don't know what's going on at all times on the YouTube page.
I don't either.
I'll be honest. We've had more viewers on this page tonight than we ever have before.
I will say
at one moment in time. It's been quite the thing.
The last caller who mentioned the search firm, that is one reason to fire him early, is you can hire the firm as soon as you fire him.
Literally, legally hire the firm.
You really can't hire the firm while he's still the head coach.
That's true. That's true.
So if you're Trev Alberts and you're like, hey, I haven't done this before, I want to hire a firm, that's an advantage of doing it early.
Yeah. All right, we will come back. We will wrap up the show. We have a few calls. We will get to those when we return. He is Ravi Lulla. I am Josh Peterson. Matt Stein is producing his Big Red Overreaction on 101.9 The Keg and 1620 The Zone TV.
Thanks for checking out Big Red Overreaction on 101.9 The Keg. My name is Crash Davis. Join me every Monday through Friday from 6 until 10. And just because you're listening, listen Monday morning at 7:15 for your cue to call. And when you hear me tell you to call, be the first person to get through with the word Christmas, and I will hook you up with Trans-Siberian Orchestra tickets and a gift basket from Trans-Siberian Orchestra featuring tour merchandise. That's right, 7:15, keyword Christmas, Monday morning, right here on 101.9 The Keg.
Hello, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. We are now open and ready to serve you at our second location at 202nd and Pacific. You may ask, why are we growing so fast? It's simple. With Equitable Bank, you get the best of both worlds. A great digital banking platform backed by our customer service. Once you bank with us, you'll never want to leave. When you're ready for a superior banking experience, give us a call at 402-827-8100. We'll answer on the first ring. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain cold refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Got a sink that won't drain? For a limited time, we'll open your drain for only $93 or it's free. Hi, I'm Mark Evans, owner of Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more. Sometimes a plunger just isn't enough. Burton's team of experts is on call 24/7 for emergency repairs. We offer upfront pricing, and your 100% satisfaction is guaranteed. Call for details on our 93 or free special or request service at justcallburton.com.
It's Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Big Red Overreaction continues in 1 minute on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg.
Taste the tradition. And do you know who's traditionally good when it comes to taste? Rotella's Bakery. Right as the fall is getting started, football is ramped up. You're thinking food and tailgating. You know what would go great with those brats, those burgers, those cheeseburgers? A nice Rotella bun. The quality, the ingredients, tremendous. When you've done business for over 100 years, you know that you're good at what you do. That's Rotella's Bakery. And remember, you're going to get a little Rotella's every week as they sponsor our Keys to the Game and Big Red Overreaction.
More info and opinions on Big Red than one station can handle. Now on 2 stations. Big Red Overreaction postgame on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg. Sound off. 402-951-1620. Big Red Overreaction is sponsored by Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more. When your plumbing's hurting, just call Burton. Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. And Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill.
I walk a lonely road, the only one that I have ever known. Don't know where it goes, but it's home to me and I walk alone. I walk this empty street on the
Friends, you don't have to be alone.
dreams.
We're here for you.
The city sleeps.
Bigger Overreaction on 101.9 The Keg and 1620 The Zone TV. We'll say it again when we sign off in a few minutes, but we do appreciate you for joining us tonight. All the comments, the haters and losers, of which there were many, and the supporters. We appreciate the supporters, too. This edition brought to you by Coors Light, keeping Nebraska chill, and also brought to you by our friend Doug Nodgaard and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. We will rip through a few phone calls in just a moment. If you missed it, which I'd be stunned if you did, Nebraska falls to 3-6, 1-4 in league play, with a 28-23, or 1-5 in league play rather, 28-23 loss to Purdue. Purdue moves to 5-3, 1 win away from bowl eligibility. They are now 3-2 in the conference. Nebraska sits in last place currently in the Big Ten West. They are a half game behind Northwestern, who fell again today, a 27-point loss to Minnesota. They are 1-4. They have Iowa next week before Wisconsin, Purdue, and Illinois. So if that team loses out and Nebraska loses out, Nebraska would hold the tiebreaker, so they would not be in complete last place. But still,
moral victories,
indeed.
We're not the worst. We're not the worst.
Positive boys. The positive boys. All right. We have 3 phone calls left, and we're going to take all 3 of them. Not right now. We're going to take them in succession. Terry is up first, though, on Big Red Overreaction. Terry, good evening to you. Terry?
Hey, guys. This
Terry.
is going to sound like a hater comment, but it's not. First of all, the sooner Tom Osborne's out of any capability of influencing anything that goes on in the state of Nebraska, the better off you're going to be.
Amen.
Second of all, Matt Davison needs to leave the football office because he's the sole reason or the main reason that Scott Frost is even here. Thirdly, Trev Alberts, you have to remember now, he's kind of a ballless wonder too. He took a big signing bonus when he went to the pros and then faked a injury and never played it down.
Whoa.
So that's kind of, he's a ballless wonder too. So what we have is like 3 ballless wonders running the football program there in Nebraska. So just everybody remember all that stuff. That's all well documented in the truth. That's just not my opinion. That's just what it is. So have a good evening.
Are we allowed to say those things?
I agree on Tom Osborne. That's all.
Okay. Probably a good idea there. Let's just move. You know what? Let's move on as quickly as possible. The comments are coming in. We're just all right. Let's all pretend. That didn't happen.
Let's rewind like a minute and a half. And
hey, thanks for bringing the Popeyes tonight, Robbie.
First call of the last segment. Here we go.
Somebody, Riley, this boomer is spitting. Jordan, Terry is obsessed with the balls. LOL. Also, somebody said that if I was doing the show with Damon instead of you tonight, I would not have said to fire Frost.
I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah, I know. So now, see, I was going to tweet at Damon, like, can you believe this moron doesn't think that I would say it? But then I don't want Damon's mentions to get filled with garbage.
Yeah.
So I just have to do it during the breakdown on Monday.
Damon, if you're listening.
Hi, Damon.
And would like to have either of us on Monday morning to say with you on the air that we would like Frost to be fired.
Yeah. I'll say it on the breakdown.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you want
Robbie, though, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think either of us are afraid to say anything to Damon.
No, Damon and I we disagree. We agree on things.
Yeah,
that's how life goes.
That's how this.
Ha, Damon, busy. I'll try later. Sorry, Damon. Yeah, we don't have the private line tonight to give Damon the phone number.
Yeah, we don't.
Damon, thanks for listening. When we talk on Monday, I'll say Frost should be fired again to you.
I would be surprised if Damon doesn't think he should be fired at this point. I mean.
Now that's a tease for Monday morning.
I would be surprised. That's all I'm saying.
Monday morning.
I don't know. I have
betting.
No inside information. I haven't talked to him. I'm just saying.
I haven't either. Yeah, that's first I've heard from Damon tonight. If you think Damon's enjoying this right now,
he's not even a little bit.
He is having.
That's why I haven't texted him or anything.
That's why I didn't tag him. His mentions probably had to be.
I'm
trashed.
sure it's a nightmare. I feel bad for him on nights
I'm
like
gonna.
this.
He follows me, so I know I can DM him. I'm pretty sure his DMs are open. Oh, Damon, no.
I mean,
his DMs had to be garbage today.
He's a man of the people, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I am too. But just tweet at me.
But
don't.
Yeah, I go out of my way to not involve him in these discussions on days like this because, A, I know he cares way more than we could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Because not only is it, okay, he's born here, he's raised here,
played there,
he played there,
won
like,
there.
it is in his blood to a level that most of us cannot fathom.
Yeah.
So I try not to bother him when things like this are happening, because I wouldn't want, if I were him, I wouldn't want to be bothered by every clown on the street or on the air that's, wondering, are we going to fire Frost now?
Yeah. So, stay tuned, though. Severe betting coming up.
I was saying, I'm sure he'll have terrific takes on Monday.
Yeah. I will listen to that while I run. All right. Mike is up next. 2 callers left. We have Mike, and then we have Greg. Mike is up first, though, on Big Red Overreaction on 101.9 The Keg. Mike, hello.
We're doing.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, how we doing?
Hey, good, man. How are you? I'm good.
Good. Hey, that last guy, I think.
What's
he
going on?
He must be a fact checker on Facebook. But anyway, I was very happy when Frost came, and like everybody, I thought it was going to work, but it's obviously not going to work. I mean, we have 3 freaking wins: Fordham, Buffalo, and a horrible Northwestern team. That's it. That's our only one. That's pathetic. Horrible. Fire him now. I don't understand. And I am not a big booster, not a big nothing. I finally got to go to a game tonight, and I was able to take my boy, and we sat up. And we were sat up, and we was able to see the field and everything. And I cannot believe how many wide open receivers Martinez don't even throw, misses, and don't see him. He don't see the field. And if Scott's not man enough to bench the quarterback, then he's not man enough to be the coach. 3 wins versus Fordham and Buffalo, and a horrible. That's just. I can't believe it. I'm 51 years old, so I've been a Nebraska fan a long time, and I have never seen anything like this. And one of you guys said this earlier while I was coming back from Lincoln. If his name wasn't Scott Frost, would we be having this conversation? If his name wasn't Scott Frost, there would not be one single Husker fan out there that wouldn't be saying fire, 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 fire. You can't look at his name just because he played for us and he's the golden boy. It ain't working. It ain't working. But and there's one more thing.
Yeah.
I do live in Iowa, and I do not think Matt Campbell would come.
Yeah.
Well, just because I just think Iowa State would pony up as much money as they can to keep him. I think Campbell, from what I have been told by people in the know, he would probably leave for Notre Dame and he'd leave for Ohio State. But with Day there, he ain't going to get Ohio State. Neither is Fickle. With Day there, Day's doing pretty good, and he's pretty young. So.
All right, Mike, thanks for the call at 402-952-1019.
I like Matt Campbell a lot. I don't think he's in the Ohio State, Notre Dame stratosphere yet.
No, and those jobs in my opinion, aren't going to be open.
Yeah,
heck, Notre Dame might hand their job off to one of the assistants.
Right, but even if they were open,
yeah,
I don't think he's in that level yet.
Yeah. Ohio State can do. They can kind of.
Ohio State can essentially write their own check to whoever they want.
Yeah,
which is part of the reason I was so shocked they stuck with Ryan Day. Obviously, it's worked.
Yeah,
but
yeah, me too.
Notre Dame and Ohio State are in that other stratosphere of jobs with Alabama and places like Texas, places like that, where they can kind of go pick a guy. And I don't think Matt Campbell's elevated himself to there yet.
I would agree. Also, Mike, while you're in Iowa, please do download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and put in my promo code Josh162. David says,
smooth.
Love Josh's inflection when a call ends. It tells all. What do I do? What do I do?
Just the tone of your voice changes whether you agree or disagree.
I'm ready to move on. Hey, that's what they teach. They teach you in broadcast. You got to change the inflection of your voice.
Wrap it up.
All right. Speaking of wrapping it up, we have one more call. We're almost 2.5 hours into this bad boy. Let us go to Greg from Buffalo County on line 2. Greg, Buffalo County, that's in western Nebraska, right? Greg? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, are you in western Nebraska?
I am in Buffalo County.
Is that western Nebraska?
So you're going to have to clarify for us there on
That's
geography.
Pretty much, central Nebraska.
What sounds western to me. What's going on, though, man?
Well, I'm asking this. Now, we've got Scott Frost.
Yep.
We love him. He's part of everything we've ever known.
Yeah.
Now, if we have to switch gears, tell me how that's going to change anything.
How it's going to change anything like on the field?
We'll have a different coach.
Well, I mean, overall. we're going. We gonna do another 5-year changeover, or what are we gonna do here? We have a good product on the field.
What?
Right?
They're 3-6. They just lost
It
to
doesn't
Purdue.
matter. Doesn't matter.
What do you mean it doesn't matter?
It matters a little.
Have they gotten better?
No.
No, they're 3-6.
No.
No.
You don't think they've gotten better?
No.
Somebody's
Okay.
laughing in the background.
Yeah, you're
This is a troll.
trolling. Come on, Greg. Oh, did you hang up? We could have kept talking to him, Matt. Oh.
He was trolling. There was somebody laughing in the background.
Yeah, come on now.
I'm done with the BS calls for tonight.
Well, Matt's done. All right. You know what?
Matt says he's done. We're done.
If he says we're done, we're done. CJ says Josh is John Bishop 2.0. I don't know if that's a good thing.
I don't even know what that means, but it's
no.
provocative.
Matt says you guys are still on. I can only imagine the calls at this point. Yeah, now we're getting trolled and people are laughing. They're better. Get out of here. All right. That's Big Red Overreaction. Thanks to all our sponsors, Coors Light, Equitable Bank, Rotel's Italian Bakery, Burton Plumbing, who apparently they need to help out Memorial Stadium. There's poop everywhere.
Go flush the turds.
Oh, Ravi, my man.
Good times.
No. Well, I mean, I had a good time with you. You brought Popeyes. I never even finished the sandwich. My stomach, it was in knots earlier. You know how
See, I
things
crushed
go.
the sandwich before we got on the air.
Yeah, you did.
But then somebody was yelling about me eating French fries on the stream, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna eat more.
Hey, why not? Why not? So Nebraska falls. We'll talk about it on Monday.
Oof.
Michael and Damon will have you covered in the morning. Gary will have you covered at middays. John and I in the evening. I don't know how much time is left because I can't see the clock. So I'm just going to say for Ravi, for Matt. Okay, I know how much time we have. I appreciate everybody listening. Thanks for watching on the YouTube. Man, incredible how many people we had watching us. Also, somebody just said V up. V up. Go Vikings. Beat the number one team
Huge
in the
upset.
state.
First time
Let's
ever.
go.
First time ever.
Let's go.
16 over a 1.
All right, Huskering over tomorrow. We're back on the air on Monday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you later. Bye-bye.
This is not good.